The Earth is very flat.
What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday, January. Oh boy, it's Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021. What's going on? It's Brandon, host of Brandon's Show. Hope everybody's doing good. Had a good weekend, a good Monday, and I did. I'm doing pretty good. Let's see who we got in the chat here. Carlos 888, Fuzzy Bush Monk, Paul Cruikshank. What's up, Paul? Soundly's Banana Cam, White's Word, Bill G. There he is, man. Oh, he says sounds good. I was so screwed up on Friday, Bill. Seeking Starwater, page 42. Ziemia Jess Plaska, Earth is Flat. What's going on? How is everybody? Good. We got a couple people in the Discord. Oh, actually, we just got one person in the Discord right now. Where is everybody tonight? Is there something? Oh, that's right. Somebody had messaged me and said that there was some debate going on. I wonder if we lost some of our panel members over to whatever that debate is. I can't even remember what it is off the top of my head. Oh well, no matter. I'm sure they'll pop in. What do we got going on tonight? Nothing. It's open panel. Talk about whatever we want to talk about. And see what happened over the weekend. If anything interesting happened, I'm sure I've got some links sitting around we can look at. Oh, yes, I do. I have a couple of things that I found, and no time travel on the agenda today. Although we can discuss it if you guys want to discuss it, but I don't have anything planned for time travel. Figure I'd give us a rest on Einstein. It's just too crazy, too far out there. But I've got this video on the Sun Dome that I thought was pretty interesting. I can't remember who that was, but we'll take a look at that and talk about that concept. And who knows what else. Anyway, hopefully, yeah. Okay, just checking my sound level. I thought I lost my mic there for a minute. Well, let's go to Discord. Brian Leakey's in there. Let's see what's going on. What's going on, guys? Hello. Hey, Brian. What's up, man?
Not too much.
Oh, I can barely hear you. Your mic's all messed up.
Is that any better?
Yeah, it is actually. That sounds pretty good. Thank you.
Okay. QE sent me he sent me a message on one of the videos that I did. He messaged me after he heard me talking about the fossils and the soft tissue.
Okay. Oh, we just lost your mic again. Just completely dropped out, Brian.
Debate.
Oh, shit, he can't hear me. Brian.
But at the end, I think I finally pointed out when he was probably yelling through the screen. I was like, it was that
could be a while.
Statements or final comment.
Brian.
Fossils. And the whole time we've been talking about soft tissue, I said, you just said fossils 10 times.
Farming Ganja joined us, and we've got Mars Mushrooms. What's going on, guys?
There's nothing
Mic check.
about
Sound okay?
Found, And
can you hear me, Farming Ganja?
Come out. And,
yeah, I can hear you. Mic check.
Y'all hear that?
All right?
I'm not sure if it's Brian's mic that's screwed up or mine. Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. Sorry about that, man.
Oh, that's okay. I was just wondering what was going on. We missed all that, Brian. It fell out when you started talking.
Okay. I'll summarize it. QE, like I said, QE watched, I guess he watched some of the debate or heard about it. Me debating with Jose, his panel. Miles Davis was on there. I guess he's a biologist by trade, by profession. And he was probably pulling his hair out watching, but I think I finally got to the point. He's obviously better versed on the subject, but I did a little research on it, and we were talking about soft tissue that they found that Mary Splicer or whatever her name is and Mark Armitage, and finally at the end I got to the point. He's like kept talking about Miles Davis kept talking about fossils. He said it like 10 times in his closing statements, and I was like Miles, you just said fossils 10 times in your closing remarks. When we're talking about soft tissue here, we're not talking about nothing fossilized. And so QE put it in a video, and it went ding, ding, ding. He's like, finally, he made a comment, like I finally got to the point. But better late than never. But they didn't. So I never really got a good response on that, man. They've never gave a good response on. They keep calling it a fossil, and then they call it soft tissue. It can't be both, right?
Yeah, because fossil means that the tissues have been replaced by minerals. Is that correct?
Yeah, like remineralized, if you will, or or more than one mineral. New minerals. Like when I think of fossils, I think of shark teeth and things like that. We have a place here in Florida that we go and where they dredged, and man, I had like, to be honest with you, almost a few thousand. Most of them were little shark teeth, but I wanted to study them because you get some that are, you rarely get any that are white. And, there's a lot of sharks around here. You'd think you'd find some, but every now and then you come across one of the shark teeth that are like kind of light brown. But most of them are black, so they're fossilized. And I just don't think it takes that long because most of them that you find are black. And you find a few of them that are light brown. You never find a white one, which is the color their teeth are in their mouth. Man, in my opinion, them teeth probably turn black in probably 20 years, maybe not even that, maybe 5, 10, 15 years, but that's yeah.
You found thousands of shark teeth? Is that what you said?
Yeah, man, there's we call it Shark Tooth Island. It's washing out now because it's it's pretty close to where I did that line test where I stretched that line a mile but never had the help to get it up out of the water and shit. But yeah, they dredged and man, we'd go and fight. We'd compete. Most of them are real small, but we have a couple of them that are almost palm sized shark teeth. But yeah, they're just everywhere. I mean, they're not everywhere. It take all day long, like 5 hours of searching to find about 100 of them. So
damn.
You find one every, yeah, you find one or two every minute.
In 20 years, why is that?
You're a little low, Ed. Is that Ed?
Yeah.
Your mic's a little low for some reason. Say something again.
Is this better?
Not much.
I think you just turned me low because you hate me.
No, that's not the case.
I hear him good.
I'd just block you.
Right, well,
Alright.
I'll just get
I
real
turned you
close
up.
to the mic for this one. All right, Brian, you said the shark teeth should turn black in 20 years. Can you explain why that is, please?
No, that's what I don't know for sure, man. I'm just saying there's shark all over. And, you know, to clean shark teeth, okay, what my buddy, the shark fisherman, did is he would put them in like his crab trap, like a little crab box. When he'd sell the shark meat and all that stuff, he'd take the jaws and he'd just put them in the crab box, and they'd pick all the meat off of it and leave the jaws and the teeth, intact. And they'd stay white, but you'd see them, some of his older ones, you see them start to turn light brown, just in the air, in regular atmosphere, in room, like at room temperature, man. But it's got to be something with the water, maybe the saltier or whatever. But the point is that I've never once, and I promise, I swear to God on everything, I had it was about 2,700 when we counted. Now, like I said, it's mostly little tiny ones that you really got to, or bend over and look to find. And I'd pick up every single one because we'd compete. But so they're mostly small, but every 10 teeth that are puny, we'd find a decent one. But I never once found any white ones ever. Out of 2,700. Not one white one, and that's what color they are when they're in their teeth. And there's sharks everywhere around there. You'd think I'd find at least one white one, so they can't take too long.
Brian, the same thing happens to us when we die.
The Earth is
some people
very
who are
flat.
alive, they don't have white teeth, but when we die, our teeth are
The
not
Earth
white
is
anymore.
very
Our
flat.
bones also are not white. So the reason why they are not white when they're not in a shark is because they're dead. Your bones are also like nails. It's sort of living tissue of your body. It's regenerated and gets
I'm
healed
not
or
talking.
whatever.
Yeah, but you're talking about human bones that are deteriorating. I'm talking about something that's being fossilized, Ed. You're not even on
I'm
the same
talking about
page,
the
man.
same thing. Because
No,
the
you're
teeth are
talking
not
about
in the
human
shark
bones and
anymore.
stuff.
The shark body keeps it, it regenerates it and whatever, just like humans. So that's why they're dead when they leave the shark's body.
Bro, you're
That's why
arguing
they
just
have the
hard.
skull. That's why you never find white ones, unless you just find one that just came off a shark shortly.
Listen, man. Listen, Ed. Listen. They go through teeth every day. They lose teeth. They replace teeth like crazy. And it seems like you're arguing just to argue, man. You're comparing.
No, I just
bones.
looked it up, and it makes complete sense because as soon as it leaves your body, it's dead.
Here's what the internet says.
Your bloodstream anymore and all that stuff.
You're comparing human bone to shark teeth. I'm talking about something that's fossilized,
because it's the same thing. If it leaves the body, it's dead. If you cut off a fin of a shark, the fin is dead. That makes complete sense, Brian.
So does human bone fossilize, Ed? Just sitting on your shelf?
I don't care.
We're talking about fossils, you jackass. Stay out of it.
The internet says it takes 10,000 years for shark tooth to fossilize. So, Brian, what you're saying is you think it takes a hell of a lot less.
Yeah, because they go through so many teeth in their lifetime, man. They go through, you can, sometimes when you're reeling up fish around here, you pull up a half fish, a shark. I've got video of it catching a big old sheephead, and I'm like, just can't. The shark that bit it in half was way bigger than the big ass sheephead, and they'll leave a tooth inside some of the ones you pull up like that. You'll find an actual tooth in there, and from what I understand is they're constantly regenerating teeth. They got a row, like each tooth has other teeth behind it. It's almost like all their teeth are kind of like baby teeth in people. But they have a whole row of them. Like there's a few waiting to, they just regenerate. They cycle, from what I understand. So they're constantly losing them, right? And they're not bone, so they fossilize. So it just seems like we would see some white ones here and there, and we never do. Every now and then we find a light brown one, and that just leads me to the conclusion that I'm not sure. It's just my opinion. I think they probably fossilized a lot quicker than what we were thinking. We could be wrong about all of that, man.
We're
Okay,
not actually.
interesting. Maybe what you need to do is catch a shark, pull one of its teeth out, and then put it in, some salt water. Test it out.
I got a jaw right here, a small shark jaw with all the teeth intact. It's like I said, it's a little bit brown. It's not white like it was, but it's a little bit tan. I'm not even gonna call it brown because that's how I described the teeth that were a little bit off color. But it's not white anymore. It's just sitting. So yeah, maybe I could take a couple of them teeth and put them in a couple different mixtures of salt water. Maybe I'd go get some actual salt water from the beach.
Yeah.
And maybe put yeah, that's worth a try, man. That's worth a try. But I would ask Ed, like, how can you prove that it takes 10,000 years for a shark tooth to fossilize when we haven't been studying shark teeth for 10,000 years? I don't.
Well, Brian, you made a very specific claim that it takes like 20 to 25 years. Can you show your evidence for that claim?
Here you just said a specific claim like 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe 25 years. That's a very specific. That was my opinion, Ed.
You said 20 to 25 years.
Bro, you just blurt shit out, bro. You just
No,
says anything.
you said 20 to 25 years, Brian.
He was just saying,
I'm
I think,
guessing,
though.
man.
He was speculating, wasn't he? I mean,
Yeah, I said we could be off. We could be wrong. It might not take 10,000 years. What's the proof, Ed? That's what I'm asking. That's a specific claim. Where's the proof that it takes 10,000 years to fossilize?
You want me to show you evidence for fossilization?
Yeah.
No, you made a specific claim, Ed. Okay, since you're gonna try and pin me down with some BS.
Well, wait a second. What claim did I make?
You claimed that shark teeth take 10,000 years to fossilize. Okay.
No. What? I asked you, how do you know it takes only 20 to 25 years?
I don't. I'm guessing. And then we just come up with a little idea to test it. You know, me and Brandon, come up with a little idea on the spot of how we can test it. You know, so I'm going to take a couple of these teeth and put them in a jar. I'm going to do a few of them different. I'm going to lock one of the jars airtight. I'm going to leave one of them open. I'm going to try one with sea salt, a mixture. I'm going to do one in fresh water. I'm gonna just try a few different things. So, but he just gave me the idea right here on air for us to put it to the test. Okay, so we're just kind of just going over.
Well, that's fine. But I have one tip for you then. I have one tip for you, Brian. Make sure all the teeth come out of the same shark, so you know they all left the mouth on the same date and haven't been rotting on the ocean floor.
Yeah. I got a rack of teeth. I got a jaw. I got a shark jaw, an intact jaw of shark teeth right here.
The man has a shark jaw.
Yeah, I just kept a little small one, dude. They're sharp too, dude. If you go to grab it and you ain't looking at it, it'll cut you.
Really?
Like, they're little,
that sharp?
Yeah, it's a small. Yeah, they're that sharp, bro. It's a small. They're just pointy. It's a small shark. Hold on, I'll put it on camera.
For a moment there, I thought I'd stumbled into Friday Night Fights.
No, Friday Night Fights, we wouldn't have even been able to have a conversation based on last Friday's Friday Night Fights. Or was that Thursday? I don't know. The days start to blend together. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. So in 20 years, Brian, we'll know. And Ed, then you'll owe Brian an apology. Oh.
Put a picture in general of a fossilized hat. A fossilized miner's hat. 50 years old, they reckon it is, in Tasmania and Australia. They found it in some sort of mine. 50 years old. It's a felt hat that's now rock, or hard like rock. So Ed,
really,
you don't really know what you're talking about, mate. It's in general. It's just a picture of it's a fossilized hat.
Can you see the shark teeth, the jaw that I'm showing on camera?
Yeah. It is a tiny one. That's a pretty small shark. Cool. What kind of shark is that, Brian?
A dead one.
Look, it cut my little pinky just grabbing the damn thing. It's a little, I think it's a little nurse shark, man.
Well, Brandon, if he's small, unless it was latched onto your leg, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm biting you. I probably wouldn't care too much.
That'd be Jaws, man. Jaws.
Right. All right. So here is the
baby bull shark, man.
That's cool. So this hat is actually now fossilized.
Yeah, it's in a museum in Tasmania.
You know, I've heard of about this stuff before. Yeah.
50 or 60 years old, apparently.
Yeah, we can make coal. That one guy who did the paper, who said that we can, we can make coal. He demonstrated it in like a month time, just with a little bit of pressure. You put it in like a little fire cylinder. You just put it under pressure, and you heat it up to about 110 degrees, which ain't that hot. I think he was talking Celsius, but you don't burn it. You just put it under a little bit of heat and pressure, a piece of wood, and you've got coal in a month or less.
Actual coal.
Yeah, you got a piece of coal. I'm not going to make any claims to the type of coal or anything like that, but that's his trade, that's his profession. He was the one who was petitioning and writing papers back and forth with one of the professors, I think, from a couple different colleges like LSU, and petitioning. But this is back when things were real slow, before the internet. But he was petitioning that fossil fuels are not what they're claiming they are. They're not old dead animals and stuff like that. They're not. They come in layers, like they're just old plant layers, and even possibly real young, like from maybe being buried through maybe. Let me do a little research before I say too much on that. But has anybody else heard of this?
No.
You're kind of describing the way you make charcoal.
Yeah. See what you can find, Brian. I know nothing about this whatsoever. Who posted this picture? Was that you, Farming Ganja? Yeah, you posted this picture. This is another fossilized thing. A teddy bear?
It's a teddy bear. It's tens of millions of years old.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I know nothing about the subject, so.
Then I believe there's like this cave where it has water, really hard mineralized water, and people like hang things up inside of that cave, like pieces of cloth, and they become fossilized, like in just a matter of months, I believe.
I have heard of that. And yeah, it only takes a short period of time. Let me see if I can find that.
I'm looking now. There's a bunch of stuff. There's fossilized cowboy boots. There's all sorts of things.
Yeah, people just take stuff, put it in there, and then come back and get it, right?
But my point is with you can make a piece of coal, okay, with actual wood. Think about this. This is not an extreme temperature. 110 degrees is nothing absurd, okay? And just the pressure from a little fire piston, just constant pressure. It's not a crazy amount of pressure. It's not a crazy amount of heat. This is something that you could easily find 100 feet down or a mile down, whatever depth. Suggesting that we're not talking millions of years. We're talking like decades. But even being fair, the other side of the argument, would you say maybe the types of coal might take a few hundred years even, but nothing near on the scale of millions of years. If we can make a piece of coal in a month, bro, that suggests a lot.
Well, the thing that you're overlooking is how did that 100 feet of overburden get out on top of the coal?
Volcano?
Yeah, catastrophic.
So
Mudslide. I mean, Bob, there's probably 50 answers to that question.
Flood. How do all the bodies of water change? They're constantly changing. That island I was just talking about here, it's washed away, man. We used to go and camp on the thing, and now it's about knee deep underwater. You can't see any of it. We used to camp on it and walk all around it, collected shark teeth. It's gone, and the land's eroding right there. The bodies of water, they're constantly changing. Floods. Who knows, man?
Liquefaction of the soil during an earthquake.
Yep.
And that's really quite common and could account for the coal seams that we see throughout the world.
I don't know. Don't you see giant mudslides around? I mean, that's not like a totally uncommon thing to see whole hillsides sliding down a mountain.
Yeah, well, he just said it. Seems. Okay, so they're coming in pockets.
That's one.
So it'd be like a forest,
That's not kind of like a worldwide process that occurs constantly to the same amount, for example.
Okay, but do you think we'd have pockets of coal, seams of coal, if it happened over millions of years, or is it more likely that it's a forest that got covered somehow, and you wind up with a pocket of coal or whatnot? Wouldn't it be more likely that it would happen quick to get a seam in the first place?
Depends.
Yeah, that makes far too much sense, Brian. So that'll just get depends. It just depends, because I haven't got that one.
Cool.
Hey, I'm happy to get a depends out of Bob. You don't get very many depends out of this guy.
That's nearly as good as a concession, man.
Well, how old
around
is
here,
the coal? How old is the coal?
It translates to, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know the answer to that.
If they're going to use the layers, it all dates. If you're going to call something a KT boundary, and I'm going to call it a Great Flood, you know what I'm saying? That's the dynamic of the argument itself, man. Is how old are some of these layers? They sent in different not fossils, but I think they did it with fossils and different rock. They broke off pieces of the same rock and sent it to 5 different laboratories and got 5 grossly different measurements.
What's that?
What? I'm sorry?
Why was that?
Just to check the legitimacy of these labs claiming dates, with the different kinds of testing.
Actually, what they did was they committed fraud with that by misrepresenting the samples, because I'm familiar with what you're talking about. There are several different ways to date objects depending on how old they are, right? So, for example, if you use a process that has a half-life of 2 billion years and you're trying to date something that's 25 years old from Mount St. Helens, for example, see, I do know what I'm talking about. And you don't tell them it's a 25-year-old rock, and you specifically request the 2 billion year half-life dating, you're going to get an erroneous result. Wouldn't you agree?
And so you're saying that they lied and asked for a 2 billion year half-life test. Test, okay. So you didn't, they did not. People have done this. You're just not up to date on it. You're talking about the old one. But listen to this. Did you hear about that plane that they found close to the North Pole that was under like 165 ice layers, and they thought that it was 1 layer per season, and it was like I think 45. It had been down there for like 45 years, something. I'm estimating. I'm not sure exactly, but they went back to get it. They couldn't find it, and they dug and they checked the layers. It was like almost 200 layers of ice, and they thought it was one a season, and they were wrong. The layers are forming quicker.
What you're talking about, of course, is Glacier Girl in Greenland, not near the North Pole, but Greenland. And what would cause layers in a glacier? Snowfall, heavy snowfall. Does that necessarily mean it's once a season?
Right, but that's how they were dating. That's how they were measuring the ice. They were measuring it seasonal instead of per storm. And so I think they've updated their shit since then. To
science knows when it likes to update its information when it gets better information. That's the way science works. Yep.
Yeah, but think about it. If you're and I just made a gross mistake. It wasn't 165. It was 1,065. or close to it, man. It was
And you've already said it's near the North Pole, and
yeah. Well, ain't Greenland near the North Pole?
Not that near it, no.
Yeah,
but
it is. And the other thing, Bob, you're right. Science likes to update its information. You're right, but in the meantime, it'll just continue to spout wrong information. And then, we'll update it now. But in the meantime, for the last 20 years, we've been telling everyone wrong information.
Well, no. What it'll do is it'll keep spouting what it knows to be the best information they have available that explains the most.
Which is wrong.
When they get something that does a better job, then they go to the better information.
Yeah, which means it was wrong. Just concede it was wrong. Okay, if they were saying 1 layer a year and now it was wrong, Bob, and that is science. Wrong information is classed as science until it's updated.
So science is wrong then. We can't rely on it? We can't use it for anything?
Science is always wrong, right?
Don't twist my words, Bob. You know what I'm saying. Don't twist my words.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. You're trying to decrease the value of science by pointing out the fact that they
am. You're absolutely right. I am.
All the time.
I am decreasing the value of science to where it should be. I agree with you. It's the best information we have at hand today. But the narrative is it's correct. That's what's spouted to the whole world. This is the facts. This is proven. Don't get technical on the word proven. This is the thing that's put out by science, and then we'll get some more information and we'll update it. I agree with you. But in the meantime, we're telling everyone wrong information.
We're telling everyone the best information we have that is most accurate and most accurately describes reality. Yes.
But you're not honest enough to say that.
Well, but then the problem it gets in when you start attacking people and calling them science deniers who don't just believe everything science says.
How is wrong information accurate, Brandon?
How is wrong information accurate?
That's their claim. They're saying it was the best, most accurate information at the time, but it was wrong. I mean, don't they know that you can't have close in science and reality?
Yeah.
Of course you can have close in science and reality. That's what
Insanity.
We call the best information.
Right. That's what Mary Schweitzer said when she found the soft tissue in the dinosaurs. Oh, whoops, that's wrong. Oh, we'll just change our minds about everything we've talked about for the last 50 years. Yeah.
Your point is what?
Unbelievable. Yeah, so they're admitting that it's okay to lie to children in schools. They're saying it's okay. That's amazing.
Boy, that's a little bit of a reach.
No, it's not. You just said it's okay.
So does that mean dinosaurs don't exist, or that dinosaurs did not walk the earth approximately 65 million years ago? Does that change any of that?
Are found not fossilized. They are found dead, not fossilized, destroying your old Earth paradigm. Thanks for playing.
What do you mean destroying the old Earth paradigm?
Yeah,
are you saying that means somehow?
Yeah, that's the point. We know decay rates, but you guys hide from all known facts and reality. So now we'll just pretend that magical soft tissue can last 68 million years, but in reality, it lasts about 6,000 years at best.
So are you saying then that dinosaurs weren't here 65 million years ago because somebody found soft
yes,
tissue?
They were not in Narnia. Yes, they were not living in Narnia. Yeah, sorry.
Horseshit. Calling horseshit on that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's absolute horseshit. That's not even worth responding to.
Yep, because you don't even have a claim. You're scared to death of your own evolutionary fucking religion. It's pathetic.
That's where your science says that it's not 6 million years old, you dumb fuck.
Yeah, magically. And then they took ostrich blood, Brandon and gang. We took ostrich blood and made it last for a few months. Therefore, dinosaur blood can last 68 million years. Thanks.
Wouldn't it be safe to say that paleontology would be more logical reasoning than science?
No.
It's not. Yeah, it's not science at all. They lie about what they find. Mary Schweitzer said she admits she had to test it 17 times, not because she was satisfied with the first answer. Do I have to explain this? She had to test it 17 times because it annihilates your dating methods. You're done.
Not done.
It doesn't annihilate dating methods. it annihilates
can't
how
even
we
define
thought
the
things
data.
happened.
It's all pseudoscience. It's all ridiculous, psychotic pseudoscience.
She said she was scared
I am
to turn in the
curious though.
result.
I don't know if everybody knows what we're talking about. This Mary Schweitzer thing. I think. Can someone just give a quick summary of it? And then I got a question for Bob.
Yeah. Okay. So Mary Schweitzer is one of a few who found soft tissue in what they call dinosaur bones. Okay. I think she found a piece in the T-Rex bone. Okay. And I think Jack Horner or Jack something, the guy who directed Jurassic Park, the guru, she was scared to turn her results in because she found red blood cells when she put the bone in the acids that they use to it dissolved it and left behind soft tissue. There was no fossil; it was actual bone. And then Mark Armitage found a horn from a triceratops, did the same thing, and he found soft tissue. They found red blood cells, and she was scared to turn in the results, so she had it tested over and over and over because they're claiming they're 65, at least like 65 to 80 million years old, these dinosaurs and these fossils, according to the layers that they're found in the earth. And she turned it in, and it was, it went on 60 Minutes. So that's a quick summary. The proof is that they're not, these are bones. These ain't even fossils. There's no way something that red blood cells and tissue, soft, stretchable tissue can be preserved for.
What conclusion did she draw
years.
from that she had found that soft tissue?
Their whole paradigm is in question. Their whole time scale with their layers.
That means these animals live with man throughout history. That's why we have millions of stories of dragons, and that's what they were always known as.
Okay, so that's one interpretation, that the dinosaurs and these animals lived later than we had suspected.
In her own words, you couldn't tell the difference between a horse bone and the Tyrannosaurus. You couldn't even tell the difference besides shape-wise. As far as if a horse just died in the desert a year ago, you couldn't even tell, or however many years ago recently, you could barely tell the difference.
Oh, that's interesting. But Bob, are you aware of all this? These arguments? It sounds like you're familiar with these, Bob, the science guy. Do you? What is your general thoughts about it? Just out of curiosity.
I'm sorry, Brandon. What'd you say?
What are your general thoughts about this whole Mary Schweitzer ordeal and the evidence that she brought forward?
Well, I'm not familiar with her work specifically, although quite frankly, after this conversation, I'm probably going to go look her up after my meeting tonight. But quite frankly, you're familiar with the Bogman from, I think was it Norway that he was from, where you had an executed prisoner that was buried in a bog and between the acids and such. This guy that is literally several thousand years dead, basically tandem. There are processes in nature that can cause strange results, and I'm not going to throw out the entire science of paleontology based on one result until I've had a chance to have a look at it.
You have zero results for your claim. Zero.
That's bullshit.
Howard, you seem to have a strong opinion on this. Why do you say that's horseshit?
Because he's throwing out the paleontology in the entirety of paleontology based on Mary Schweitzer, and that's bullshit.
That's a lie.
That absolutely is.
Paleontology is assumed. Okay, just tell me where the dating methods come from.
Assumed.
Watch this. Where do the dating methods come from? Watch this. Watch this, Brandon. Where do the dating methods come from?
A number of different places.
When were they invented? When were they invented? When were these dating? The Jurassic, Cretaceous, Precambrian. When were these terms established?
No idea.
Exactly. No fucking idea. I just believe it. Thanks for playing.
What about
Brandon,
the word dinosaur itself?
So because someone
I don't know the guy that created the first wheel either.
Psychopath. Yeah, everybody can show you how a wheel works. We don't have any clue where these dating method ideologies came from because it's a mystical.
What do you mean we don't have any idea where the dating methods come from?
Psychopathic witchcraft doctors came up with this shit 200 years ago, and psychopathic witchcraft evolutionists still believe this shit. It's unbelievable.
And see, you're discrediting yourself by saying psychopathic.
No, I'm sorry. You don't even have a claim. You don't even know where you get your
Yeah, that
information
just
from.
runs you
And
off
notice that you'll never
into
even
the realm
find a
of
single
silliness.
evolutionist that has a claim of when the dating methods come from or when the terms were originated.
So
Yeah,
where do you
well,
think they come from?
First, that's irrelevant. Second of
But
all,
that's
by
the point. It's
using
your
that
claim and
verbiage,
it's completely irrelevant, showing you that you
yourself
don't
off
have the
into
slightest clue what
into
you're
the,
talking about when it comes to your
the
own
realm of
religion.
silliness.
Well, you
So,
guys are talking at the same
Embarrassing.
time. Hold on.
yeah, I'm
Go
not
ahead.
gonna play that game. Sorry.
Okay.
You guys mind if I say
Hey,
something?
Hey,
Go ahead, James.
can I?
Was somebody else wanting to say something first? Sounded like somebody might.
Yeah, if I can, it'll be real quick.
Go
And then
ahead,
you
man.
can go
Go ahead.
ahead. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I was gonna ask Brandon or whoever else, could we consider Mary's results of her research a black swan, like the gentleman said? I'm not gonna throw out all of paleontology because of one person's results, but could we consider that a black swan, or no?
Well, the
I
answer
would
to
say
that is no. It's an unexpected result that needs to be better explained. It
Okay.
doesn't necessarily throw everything out. You know,
Okay.
black swan is overused.
I would definitely throw up a red flag. I wouldn't say black swan, but
The biggest
Just 'cause
problem here, sorry to
That's a red flag. I'll go
The
with a red
biggest
flag.
problem here is that there isn't a single white swan. There is not a single archaeological finding that shows anything to help their claim. Not a single white swan exists. That was easy.
That just demonstrates you have no idea what you're talking about.
No,
so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You're
they
the one
would-
living in the
Well, see,
cartoon cupcake. You're
this
the one
is
that
what I
admitted you have
wanted-
no idea where your information comes from. Thanks for admitting that.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I was going to, where I wanted to go, because what I said earlier about paleontology being more detective work, logical reasoning as opposed to science, is because there's no, variables being manipulated or controlled. All you're
Correct.
doing, like, let's say you take the layers of the ground, right, and you're seeing these different layers of dirt, soil, sediments, whatever. You can have using logical reasoning, you could say over time these layers developed, but at the same time, you could say, well, if there was a great flood, the most dense layers would have settled first, so you would have layers after all the water, picked up all the dirt, circled it around everywhere.
Sorry, James, can I just interrupt
Yes,
1
yes.
second? James, can I just interrupt 1 second? They find these layers.
The only thing
with
I was going to
trees.
say is cause and effect. Go ahead. There's no cause and effect, so go ahead.
Yeah,
They
like,
find
yeah,
these
so-
layers with trees. They find these layers with trees. Never mind.
Yeah, you're
Go
right,
ahead,
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
You're right. They find
Jeremy's
trees.
Jeremy's
They find
actually
trees
correct.
crossing various layers. That's the reality. So layers that are supposed to have formed over thousands of years. There's a tree that goes up through several different layers. So that doesn't add up either.
Correct. It's called polystrata. Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but you see, Jeremy was actually Jeremy was bringing out a good point, and that is that these layers do have fossilized or burned organic material that can be dated in them. And that is and looking at many, many, many layers, this is something that you can use to make an educated hypothesis and understanding of what these
No.
layers are caused by.
Listen, you retard. They didn't form over millions of years if there's trees going vertical through them.
Yeah, duh.
it's safe to say that it's pseudoscience, basically.
It's
So
safe
You
to say
probably
that
should
it's psychotic
research this subject a bit more, Bob. And I know you're trying to defend it, but there's some guys here who seem to know a bit more about it than you do. And whilst your defense
I doubt that.
is
That's correct, Effie, self-evidently. Watch
Okay.
this. Okay, watch this. What would it
No,
disprove
what
evolution?
there
Watch
are
this.
there are guys
Would
here
it
that have a
disprove
narrative.
evolution? This is the evolutionist. Watch this. Would it disprove evolution if we had a living dinosaur today?
No.
Exactly. Nothing is falsifiable in the religion of evolution. If it's there, it's evolution. If it's not, it's evolution. If it died, it's evolution. If it still exists, it's evolution. It's a psychotic
Or-
religion for
All right, so we find a woolly mammoth in Siberia. What does that say about evolution? I mean, what does that
Wait,
have to do with
what?
evolution?
Yeah, exactly. You're telling me these animals died off and they're index fossils, but you forgot your own religion. That's the point.
No, if we find a woolly mammoth today, that doesn't disprove evolution.
Right. Okay,
It
watch this.
disproves
Watch
the fact
this.
that they were
What would
extinct.
disprove? Watch this. What would disprove evolution? Watch the begging the question here. I rest my case. That was
What
easy.
would, no, it is a good question though. I do like that question. What would falsify
I do too.
evolution?
Oh,
Well, if you found
that would
people
have to.
in the same layers as the coelacanth, that's what they're going to say. What?
Let's hear what Bob was about to answer.
No, I think that's a great question. Let me think about it for a little bit.
Okay.
Well,
False.
isn't
Prove
yeah,
it.
like isn't the popular thing like if we evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys?
I think Bob's answer was sensible rather than funny.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's the point. Anybody in their right mind who believes in evolution would understand something that would disprove it, but because they're psychotically possessed, the thought or notion will never cross their beady little eyes.
No, I know how you did.
yeah, I'm thinking about it right now.
I use this.
And why do you have to add all the add on?
I had to force you. Yeah, you've been believing in evolution for probably 3 decades, and the Christian has to come and make you think about it. Brilliant.
No, I've been believing in evolution for close to 5. Thank you. But,
Yeah, this
Oh
is
my
really
God.
how this is how you
Go ahead.
debunk or falsify evolution. Because evolution basically says it's survival of the fittest. Only like the smart, they survive. The weak get eliminated due to
well,
the.
you've obviously never seen the movie Idiocracy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that's how you would falsify it.
It's right here. You're called Glober Atheists. You're right here.
Yeah.
It's a documentary.
No,
When you look
Idiocracy
at-
isn't based on evolution. Idiocracy is based on preventing the survival of the fittest. It's
But what
preventing
you
the
look
weak.
at here,
Oh
that's
yeah,
called
we need to bring
social
back Adolf
Darwinism.
Hitler to fix everything.
Yeah, that was another term that a lot of the atheists love to use is social Darwinism. People might not be suited to survive the wild, but they can navigate like this social construct environment that was built to prop people up who like to play the victim or who are just stupid enough to survive. But see,
Why do you have to make that something about atheists? What's atheism have to do with it?
Atheists have always
because-
been doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones who try to say that their evolution proves there's no God, and they're that dumb.
I don't
that-
know of a single evolutionist that says it proves that there's no God. Are you saying
so
God
you've been
didn't create
heard of it
evolution?
Hey, forget
No,
about
God
falsification.
God is not a retard. He wouldn't make a retarded sycophant religion, definitely. So watch this. Here's the definition of evolution. The theory that all species of plants and animals, including humans, have come into existence by gradual continuous change from earlier forms. See natural selection. So let me go forward a couple hundred pages in my medical dictionary. Here it is. Natural selection. A mechanism of evolution proposed by Charles Darwin. It states that the tendency for survival and reproduction of organisms is most likely to occur in those that are best adapted to their environment. So all you got to do is give me one example. Watch this. All you evolutionists have to do is give me one example of adaptation in nature, and you have evolution. Best of luck.
Whales.
Oh,
Yeah,
whales
it's
already whales? That destroyed your own claim. They're already whales. Thanks for playing.
It's like
That's
forget about
well-
falsification. Forget about
Well,
falsification. They have to they have to prove the claim in the first place, and they haven't done that. So we don't have to falsify it. They have to prove their claim,
right.
and
But-
they haven't done that.
Right, but listen to what the guy just said. This is how stupid these people are. You need to show me the whale becoming stronger, not staying the same. So they think staying the same, known as stasis, is adaptation. That's how stupid these people are. That's unbelievable.
That's not what I'm referring to at all.
Yes, you're brain dead, bro. Have somebody else answer. You just killed yourself. Next.
That's not what I said at all.
Don't say
Define
the vestigial.
adaptation. Yes.
Don't
Give me
say the
one
vestigial
example
organ.
of adaptation in nature, not things staying the same permanently. Adaptation. Do you want me to define the word adaptation for you? It means a change for the better.
Look, all you have to do is stop talking, and I'll answer you. Are you going to stop talking?
You already lied. Try again.
I said
Let him
whales.
answer.
Whales is an excellent example of evolution. You look at the location of the blowholes on fossilized whales, and you'll see that it moves from the snout up to the top of the head.
Nope, that's a lie. You cannot go to a
What do you mean it's a lie?
non-whale and say this non-whale eventually turned into a whale. That's not adaptation at all. That is a presupposed religious belief. Thanks for proving my point again.
No, the location of the blowhole changes. over time.
No, it
And
hasn't. That's the point. You're
evolutionary
just
adaptation
it doesn't change. The whale is guaranteed to make a whale. In fact, the sperm whale only makes sperm whales. The humpback whale only makes humpback whales, and the orca will only make an orca because the gene pool's
Yeah, that
not
doesn't mean
the
anything.
gene pool. That's why it's called a gene pool. Thanks.
Okay, guys, let me go back one step on this. Gender, male and female, required for reproduction. Okay, so if it's survival of the fittest, prior to there being male and female, you would assume there were asexual versions of something. Now, at what point would something going from being asexual and self-reliant on reproduction to splitting into a male and female gender that require one another for reproduction, how would that be a more sustainable form of life for whatever that creature actually was?
Easy.
Makes
Genetic
no sense whatsoever.
Whales is the answer.
Genetic
Yeah, whales.
diversity.
Yep, whales.
Genetic diversity.
Whales. Oh, of course, whales. Yeah, whales.
If there's genetic diversity,
All
why
right, how
is there
many
only,
times do I
why
have
is
to
there
answer this
why is
question?
there
Okay,
why
yes,
why is there only
but
one
that makes no
per
sense.
Y chromosome? Why is there
Genetic
only one
diversity
Y
doesn't
chromosome?
make sense.
Okay, hang on. This
You
is
know why you
ridiculous
can't, Aaron, your
because
cousin?
as soon as
Guys,
Bob,
there's
just
like
listen for
three
a
of you
second. As
guys
soon as you
against
had a
one.
male, as soon as you had a male who became a male instead of an asexual, that would die because it would have no female to reproduce with, like, or a female, and that would be the end of that mutation. Like, the argument is nonsensical.
Any bacteria that's ever evolved and can't take its can't be killed, it grows to the next one is evolution. That's evolution. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, ensuring it stays bacteria is not evolution. The bacteria that don't have
That's
the ability to survive die. Therefore, the bacteria that already have the ability, keyword, already have the ability to survive. Wow, it's magic. And then they make more bacteria. No adaptation.
Yeah, but the next ones can
Actually, no, that's not the way bacteria work.
Brandon, here's the point. This is the most powerful question.
Look, that's not how bacteria work, but I really don't have time
Hold
to
on.
continue this with you. I'll be back later.
Let's share the mic. Let's just take turns
Want me
here.
to wait?
Yeah. Let Bob respond to the bacteria thing, and then we'll go ahead.
Yeah, the reason bacteria evolve and change their characteristics is to better survive in the environment. That's how you get antibiotic resistance, etc. But in any event, I've got my meeting now, so I've got to run. If you guys are around in 2 hours, I'll be back.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
See you, Bob.
Brandon, I just want to point out that I asked that question to the panel because it's unanswerable, just like where's the curve? You'll never get an answer for that either. And then they'll ask you to explain their religion. They'll ask, I'm getting interrupted here. Of course, getting interrupted as usual. So just like the heliocentric model,
you just got an answer. Bacteria.
The first thing you have to do, that's not an answer. Bacteria making bacteria that already had the ability to survive is not even adaptation.
But its kids can withstand the new antibiotics. How's that?
It only makes
all right,
bacteria.
Hey, Brandon.
Can I talk?
Can I get a last word in here because I've got to go?
Okay, you're scared to death. That's the point. So, Brandon, just like the heliocentric religion, you have. I thought you were leaving. What are you talking about? Now you want
to let him say his last thing, then he's going to leave. I think he's saying he's got evidence of the curve. Is that what you're saying, Bob?
Yeah, I measured the curve. I measured the curve directly on Sunday, and I measured it again today. It'll be out in a video on Friday. Enjoy.
Okay.
That's the end.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Rest in peace. Right. So, Brandon, it's just like the evolution. The heliocentrism, they're actually one and the same. And you'll notice by the mannerisms, the first thing they do is they need you to explain their religion to them. Just like you have to show them the Earth curvature measurements, what's expected, the 8 inches per mile, et cetera, all these magical things that they believe in. They don't know when they first meet you. You have to explain it to them. Just like evolution. They have no idea what evolution is. So they don't have even an example of it. And then you ask them, of course, so then you ask them for an example of adaptation in nature, and the psychopath that lives in a cartoon says whales. And now we have bacteria, which already have the ability to be whales and bacteria. In fact, again, the bacteria that survives always 100% of the time already had the ability to survive, which is called a necessary antecedent. And that means by natural selection, which is true, natural selection guarantees that it stays bacteria, just like the powerful kitties stay by natural selection cats. There's no other way around it because it's a gene pool. So Brandon, my point that I wanted to give you today, and we haven't talked much, is watch this one question ends it all. Give me an example of adaptation in nature, and watch what happens when they try to answer you.
Yeah, I like that gentleman's question about the male and the female. That was awesome.
Well, since none of us are really biologists, none of us could really give you the clear answer to that.
All of biology depends on evolution not happening. When Brandon gets sick and goes to the hospital, the doctor has to know that Brandon is only a human and not magically changing into something else. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the evolution. I've never gotten into the evolution argument.
Oh, cool. You know what, Brandon? It might not be your forte then. I just want to point that out there. That
no, that's cool. I enjoy hearing about it. I'm just, saying I don't know anything about it.
Okay, but back to the guy that was talking
about the.
I got to point this out, guys. I know. Listen, that's my point. You guys are trying to overcomplicate this. I'm trying to give you a really big key here that if you try to use, you will be shocked. I've destroyed thousands of these atheists, and they're scared to death for a reason. If you just ask them for an example of adaptation in nature. In fact, why don't some of the guys that don't believe in evolution, because I know you still believe in adaptation, try to give me an example of adaptation in nature, and let's see what happens.
What about the Sherpas in the mountains? Their lungs grow to be different size or whatever.
Yeah, they already have the ability. That's why they live there. It's necessary antecedent.
Well, it's like the chicken and the egg, right? The chicken and the egg.
Exactly.
So if the chicken was made first, what purpose does the egg serve?
Right, you can't have the egg.
You don't even
have
need.
the system. Yeah, you can't have.
That's that's where I'm going. I agree with you. Like you have to have the egg seeded and incubated.
Like another chicken.
So you have to have the rooster, the female, the chicken, and it has to be incubated.
Right.
All three of those things must take place for the egg to hatch.
Right. Is there any answer in chat? Is there anybody in chat, believer or non-believer, doesn't matter, give me an example of adaptation in nature, please. I'll be your slave.
None of us are biologists, so I wouldn't be able to.
The biology has nothing to do with this. Biology and the theory of evolution are completely separate. I'm sorry you're scared to death of your own belief system. I'm not asking you. Stop. Why are you speaking for everybody else? I'm asking a few hundred people for an answer. You're not them, psychopath. Can you shut up?
Are you going to ever let anybody finish their statement before you jump in?
Yeah, stop speaking for somebody else. Are you Are you possessed by demons? You're speaking for 300 people now? What kind of psychotic nut job are you?
I don't think there's 300 people in this chat.
What are you talking about? I'm asking everybody if they have an answer, not if you say nobody can give you an answer.
And if you don't get an answer, what does that mean?
We're not biologists, guys. No, let's not talk about evolution. Let's just be quiet and move on so you can hide from your own religion. That's the point. You believe it, you can't even describe it. Thanks for proving my point.
Are you ever, if no one gives you an answer, what does that mean?
I'm not talking to you. I'm trying to see if there is an answer. If you can't give an answer, you're the person that should keep his mouth shut. What kind of fucking psychopath are you?
Give an example.
What is wrong with you?
I heard somebody has an example. Who has an example?
Leo's got an answer.
Okay, Leo's got probably has an
The
answer.
finches of the Galapagos Islands, the ones that Charles Darwin based his theory of evolution off, those finches adapted to the environment they were in. Ones had shorter beaks, others had longer beaks, depending on what island they were on. They adapted to their. Perfectly correct.
Nope, dead wrong. They already made birds with different shaped beaks based off an already existing gene pool, which means they already had the ability to survive.
Wait a minute. What does that mean? They already had the ability to survive? Because they were one creature, and they split up to different islands. This is how I understand the story. Maybe someone can correct me. They split up to different islands. Some grew a long beak.
think
Some had a shorter beak based on their environment.
Yep, no
right?
adaptation, exactly. No adaptation, exactly.
Brandon, I don't
Yes,
think Leon got the
it's kind of like everybody in the
minute.
room. One of us is bigger than the other, right?
They are
So
both
the finch,
finches.
even on the island,
They are both
they just had different
finches.
sized beaks.
And,
I don't think
and
Leon
the
got
beaks
right. So watch
adapted
this. So
to
the
the
birds. So let's say
environment
the
they
birds.
were in
Okay.
to
Right.
better
Hold on,
suit
Lale was
them.
talking. Go ahead, Lale. Finish, please.
They are both finches. They are both the same bird, but on one island they had shorter beaks, and on the other island they had longer beaks. They adapted to their environment.
No, there's no adaptation.
Yeah.
They already lived there.
He's
That's
not
the
done.
point. They
He's not
already
done.
lived
He's
there.
not
That's
done.
not adaptation.
Yeah, let him finish.
He's not done.
Finish, man.
He's wrong already. But let him
How is
He's
that
not
not
done with his
adaptation?
They're
The general
already
finch has a
living
long
with
beak.
their beaks.
What-
You can't even
what
show
he's
me
doing
one bird
is-
giving birth to a different
he's-
bird with a different beak.
He's demanding examples. He's demanding examples of adaptation, and
That's
then
not
reject-
adaptation. Yes,
Listen,
it's
I'm
already
still
there.
talking.
That's the point. No,
I-
you can shut up. You have had
I
a
haven't
thousand
said- I've
chances.
only
to
got
let-
Hey, 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 hey,
You
come
banned
on,
me
come on,
from your
guys.
channel without even giving a chance to speak. So
right?
you
And
can
he's
go
defending himself with this wall of talking.
Yes, you're a
Let's have a civil
psychopathic
conversation.
nut job.
Let's have a
creature
civil
already
I
conversation,
haven't called him a
please.
psychopath. I haven't called him a psychopath or a demon or anything. He needed to do that to me for some reason.
Yeah.
He is demanding
Tim.
examples. He's demanding examples of adaptation and then rejecting them because they aren't examples of
Okay,
speciation.
did the bird already have the beak?
Let me
Did the
finish.
bird- No,
You
no
haven't
adaptation.
let me finish. I'm going to say it again because
No, you're
you didn't
talking
let me
about
finish.
me. You're giving a color commentary.
He's
complaining
demanding
like, oh,
examples of
yes, bitch. Give the
adaptation.
example, bitch.
He's demanding examples of adaptation and rejecting them because they are not examples.
You
of
haven't given. There is no
Again,
example.
I
Stop
haven't
lying.
finished. I'll
Hold
say it
on.
again.
Let
He's
each other finish
demanding-
talking. Come on.
He's demanding
Go ahead.
examples of He's demanding examples
Yes,
of
give me the stop color commenting.
Come on,
and give
man.
the
You got to
example.
stop
I won't-
interrupting everybody. You got to let him
He
keep
can't because he
finish.
knows his position is indefensible. He's demanding examples of adaptation and rejecting them because they are not examples of speciation, which is something different. Thank you.
Incorrect. No adaptation. The birds already existed. The bird with any
How do you
size
know?
beak-
How do you know the
You're
birds
not letting me talk.
already lived
Exactly.
there?
Not letting me talk. Exactly. I can't talk. That's the point.
Because you're
The
making a
bird-
claim.
Right.
You're making
Watch
a
this.
claim
Jim,
about the bird.
Jim, come on, man.
Your claim.
See, I can't. See, I can't talk. That's the
Go
point. You have no
ahead.
evidence.
Respond to what he said.
Brandon. Okay.
So what is the difference between speciation and adaptation?
There's
Well,
no
they're
such
not-
thing as either one. They're both fictitious. Neither
well,
exists.
Speciation, what he's demanding is he's saying, well, it's
Okay,
already a
That's
whale.
the point.
Let
You're
me
not letting
answer.
me
Let me
explain
fucking
that
answer.
born with
Hold
a
on. He's
beak
giving us an answer to the question I just asked. Let him answer.
with that
Brandon,
beak
please.
is not adaptation.
Right, can I respond without interruption?
Go ahead.
An adaptation would be to similar organisms. One is slightly different from the other. You are rejecting this because they are the same type of organism. You're saying whales already existed. Well, that doesn't mean that whales didn't adapt. That's why we have different varieties of whale. And there's the example that somebody gave of people living in the high Himalayas. You said, well, they already had that. That's why they lived there. Where's your evidence for that? You haven't got any evidence.
I'll give it to you right now. Watch
so
this.
you think?
You,
So
you
you
won't
think
let me talk.
people-
That's right. You're scared to
Okay,
death. You're
I
scared to
haven't
death,
finished.
bitch. That's right, bitch. Keep
Go
talking.
ahead,
That's right.
Go ahead,
That's
then,
right,
go
bitch.
ahead.
That's
Go
what I
ahead.
thought.
Where's your evidence that
Fucking
people
little
in the
coward
high
bitch.
Himalayas?
Yeah, that's right. You
already
fucking little
lived-
coward bitch. Let me
already
Why
speak.
are you
lived there?
guys?
Shut your faggot mouth.
Go
Why?
ahead,
Shut
speak.
your
Why?
mouth,
Instead of saying,
bitch.
let me
Shut
speak.
your mouth,
Just
bitch.
speak.
Yeah, shut your mouth.
Guys, I don't know why you're getting so heated about this.
Oh, wait.
Let's just try to figure this out. Go ahead.
Because he has to
because he's an
justify- they
idiot.
have to
He has
justify their
to.
perverted
He
lifestyle. They're a
has
bunch of
to make his
psychopaths.
point work.
Hey, Brandon.
It's not
Can I
Friday
make it
night.
clear?
Yeah.
And Jim
what?
already knows this. Can I make something clear? I don't believe in evolution. I do believe that things do adapt to environments that they live in. That's not the same thing as that's part of evolution, but it's not the complete picture.
Yeah.
If I'm incorrect, I would like to be corrected.
Is
Trying to be corrected
adaptation
on
is
your
not
belief.
equal to evolution? Correct? The
Brandon,
theory
can I
of
answer real
evolution.
quick? Brandon, can I just close this real quick? Can I just talk to you? Okay, watch this. Okay, so we have lions in the jungle, right? And now the lions give birth to 2 lions. One lion is born with an issue with its arm, and it can't do well enough. The other lion is normal and survives. The other lion dies. Is that adaptation?
In a way.
I don't
No,
think
that's probably
so.
a mutation.
It already had the ability to survive. Thanks for playing. No adaptation, no evolution. Thanks
There
for
is
playing.
a
That's just an animal.
Here's the thing.
That's an animal.
resistant
That was
bacteria.
easy. Yep,
For Christ's
bacteria
sake.
staying bacteria.
Well, if you think you
Thanks for
proved
playing.
something, I don't know what it
Resistant
is you think.
bacteria.
Crushed the entire atheist paradigm.
Now
But
there's another.
I don't.
You know,
This is where I'm confused. I don't see how adaptation has anything to do with atheism, unless you think that adaptation is equal to the whole theory of
Because he's a
evolution. I think you can
fundamentalist
have
moron, that's
adaptation without buying into all that other shit, can't you?
Because he's a fundamentalist
Yeah,
moron who
that's the
thinks
whole
that
point.
that life never changed on the earth. That's why.
Well, hold on, because I think everybody's ignoring an important
Speaking of
part.
fundamentalist morons.
The island with the finches.
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar. I know a little.
You're not familiar with the Galapagos finches?
Hold on, I'm a little. My question is, did they do every finch on the island? Because
What?
No.
in this panel right here, and I hate to. One of us is bigger than the other, right?
You call me fat?
Right, and that's why Pillbox's example wasn't an example of adaptation.
Well, if you find
let me finish. Nearly there. One more
I'm
sentence.
getting to my point, though. Hold on.
Oh, all right then.
I'm getting
Go
to my
ahead.
point. So my point is, on this island, you could have 10 finches with long beaks and 10 finches with short beaks.
Exactly.
Are you just putting your narrative to the ones with long beaks?
No.
Well, no. The fact of the matter is, when Darwin went back to England and presented his thing about with the finches, he thought those 2 birds were separate birds. They weren't both finches, and he was corrected. They were both finches. He thought they were different breeds, different birds, different species. That's the point. One bird adapted and appears not to be the same bird as the other bird, but they in reality are the same bird.
But in
I thought
his
it was a really
writings,
good
in his
question, though,
book-
James. That how do they know that? Okay, we've got some birds on this island with this kind of beak, some birds on this island with this other beak. How do they know that they came from the same type of bird and adapted?
He ate them at the end of his experiment.
it's like I hate to be.
I'm sure there's an answer. I just don't know it. I thought it was a good question.
I got the answer. He ate them and he determined by their taste how each bird tastes.
Guys,
Oh,
I'll tell you how.
I don't want to be childish, guys.
Crystal balls.
I don't want to be childish.
what I said?
Whoa, guys.
Listen real
ignore what
quick.
I
I don't
said?
want to be childish.
He thought
Hopefully
they were
everybody in
separate
here.
birds. He
Hopefully
thought they were
everybody in here is an
completely separate
adult.
birds.
Hold on, James. I think Lael's trying to answer the question. Then you can.
Yeah, okay, my
go.
bad.
You
No, that's
guys
all right.
just glossed. Brandon's question just glossed over what I said. Darwin thought they were separate birds because of how they looked and acted, and when he presented it to the people, the scientists, the zoologists back in England, he was corrected and told, "No, those are both finches." Darwin thought they were different birds.
Yeah, but how did he know?
Yeah, but
So
that
what?
doesn't- hold on. That doesn't mean nothing. That doesn't mean nothing.
What the?
Yeah, it
Because
does.
you
They
have
were
white and
separate
black
birds.
people, right? You got white and black people. If you're born and raised in the desert, you're going to look different than somebody born and raised in the Antarctic.
Even
So are
between
you
black people.
Are you different species? No,
I
you're
was
still
going to bring that up, James. That's to me, that's adaptation. I'm a creationist, but that's adaptation.
Yeah,
Because theoretically, if Adam and Eve were the first two, Adam and Eve were the first two, over however long, tribes separated. Some lived in hot, sunny climates. Some went north to the polar, cold, cloudy, dark areas. and some have now got a lot more melanin prevalent generationally than those that went to the north. So we're all humans. We all have in our DNA the ability to have a lot of melanin or not much melanin prevalent. We have adapted depending on which part of the world we've generationally grown up in. We're all human, but there is adaptation to one's climate and surroundings. I can't see why the creation and adaptation can't coexist. I think it can.
Well, I think most creationists say they do, right? But what all the evolution is saying is that those sort of adaptations, given enough time, add up so that you end up with something so different from the original that we classify it as a different species.
How is it so different? Just the length of its beak?
Well, usually one of the main ways we do it is if it's still able to reproduce with the former.
That's the only way. Is the same seed.
It's not the only. It's not the only way. It's not the only way. In biology, there is actually, they call it the species problem, and there are actually different ways of defining, separations between species. But that is the sort of common one that's used. But there are.
Yeah, but are they letting these animals mate themselves? Are they letting in biology? In biology, are they letting the animals mate themselves? Or are they putting certain animal seeds into existing eggs and trying to create these offsprings that way, off-breeds? You see what I'm saying?
I can give another perfect example, and it's a little more personal, of adaptation. I have some issues with my eyes where it appears that I'm not looking at you when I'm talking to you. My brain has adapted to, well, because I was born like this, adapted to seeing people think I see double vision. My brain is adapted from what people think to what people normally see. Now they ask, can I see clear? Well, I've seen the same way I've seen it all my life. What's clear to one person is not clear to another person. That's at least one good example of adaptation. Your eyes and your brain, how your brain interprets what you see, is adaptation.
I'll be the first person. I'll be the first person to say. I'll be the first person to say. I have no idea what you just said.
You have to show what we adapted from.
He was having trouble saying it. Hold on, Lemon. Hold on.
I understand, Lael.
Hold on, Lael. What you just said made no sense, and I was listening to you.
Yes, it did.
Okay, go ahead, Howard. Howard. What did Lael just say?
He said that his brain adapted to a wider view of vision. I had an employee that had the same thing. He had one eye.
Don't go. No. Don't add to the story. No. Don't add to the story.
He's not adding. He's He's explaining what I meant.
Okay, Lael.
No.
Same thing.
Okay, you don't. Look,
perfectly what I said.
Howard, Lael.
Just let him answer how he wants to answer, Travis. For God's sake.
What I'm saying.
Chill out, Germ.
What a fascist.
Okay, chill out. Okay,
you guys
Howard.
You guys know nothing about biology.
I don't need you to give me another example of the same thing. I need you simply to tell me what Lael said. And you started off well. You said that his brain adapted, and then you said, and I got another person that I know, blah, blah, blah. No, don't do that. Say, Lael said that his brain adapted, and then go from there. Go.
His eyes look off in two different directions. His eyes look off in two different directions, it appears to you, but his brain sees one image, and he's able to use it. He can still use it for depth perception and everything.
Okay, tell me how he knows his brain adapted from one thing to another.
Because it's different.
What's different?
Well, if you see a guy that one eye's looking off to the right and one eye's looking off to the left, you wouldn't think
Marty
that he
Feldman.
would be.
Yeah, Marty Feldman. Yeah, Marty Feldman. Great. Now listen again, very carefully. This is the whole thing, guys. You don't have an adaptation. It didn't start out one way and go into another. Nobody ever measured that for Leo.
No, the guy that I'm talking about
Really?
had a
That's
I'm
untrue.
not talking
That's
about your
factually
guy.
untrue.
Of course not.
That's
It's
factually untrue.
Why don't you just wave your hand?
The fact of the matter is, that both eyes do the same thing. It's called intermittent exotropia, which means if I close one eye, the other eye veers off. If I close the other eye, the other eye veers off.
I gotcha.
So my brain has adapted to believe that I am looking in one direction.
Okay, I don't disagree with how your eyes operate if you close one and the other. I don't disagree with that phenomenon. I'm challenging your claim that there was adaptation. All you have is this is what you're.
He's saying that you started that way and you're still that way, so there's really no adapting.
No, the guy that worked for me had normal eyes, and he had a motorcycle.
Okay,
his head on the telephone.
Howard, this is not the same then, Howard.
It is the same thing.
This is not the same then, Howard.
Yes,
that didn't happen to Lale unless he was dropped on his head.
Well, Howard sounded interesting, but Howard finished.
Yeah, it's exactly what he's asking for. His brain adapted to.
Okay. Lale, did you have a head injury trauma when you were a baby? Were you dropped on your head, Lale?
No.
Then it's not the same, Howard.
Why is it the same?
What the fuck, dude?
I think what Howard's trying to get at.
Tell me what's not the
same. I think what Howard's trying to get at is he knows somebody that did start a normal way, suffered an injury, and then and now he's adapted to it and he can see normal again.
What's your objection?
That's why I wanted to hear him finish.
But that's not adaptation in the evolution sense. Not that we're talking.
Well, he's adapting because he started one way and ended another.
But I am sort of a bit lost here myself, so I'm not really sure.
We're not talking about evolution. We're talking about adaptation. Two different things.
Well, adaptation is a process within evolution that we were originally.
Yes, it's a delta.
And now we just seem to be talking about someone who had an accident and was
adaptations have to be able
to
be
Yeah, but the whole thing, guys, you still have you don't have a cause and effect. All of these you're looking at species after the fact and then back in.
If the
you're talking about you're talking about one human's lifetime and comparing it to 64 million years.
No. I'm talking. Okay, look, I'm talking even about the finches on the Galapagos Island. They didn't see this happen. They have two different species.
They're seeing it happen
and then they made up a story that this one must have had to adapt.
Hello.
Okay, they don't have a cause. They don't have a cause. They don't have a mechanism.
Yes, they do.
Yes, we have a cause. We have a mechanism. We're watching it happen now.
Is it possible? The observation would be the diversity of life on Earth. So that would be the effect, is the great diversity of life on Earth, and the cause would be.
Is it possible
evolution.
we had advanced technology in the past? Is that even possible?
No. Anyways, let's talk about another real world example. There, Travis. Your parents have separate DNA. You have a mix.
Hey, first of all, this is not another.
You're interrupting me.
Let him finish.
Let me finish. When
it's not another.
Those two separate DNAs mixed into the egg, it adapted to allow life to exist, and that's why you exist.
Smurfer Girl, whatevs, $2. The chat voted he should go away. Ouch. Thank you, Smurfer Girl.
That's a specific meaning here, and you guys are confusing it.
You are.
The word evolution has a specific meaning. You guys are abusing it. I don't think anybody here knows
Have you
what the
guys
hell we're
ever heard?
talking about.
Tell us how we're abusing it. Tell us how we're abusing. Let's hear what this. Let's hear this. Tell us how we're abusing it.
You're not
going to
rescue the situation yourself. I'm tired of teaching you guys. You guys are you guys are.
You have never taught us a goddamn thing. I know that 100% for sure. If there's one thing I know for sure, it's that.
In biology, can anything be born without the seed?
The thing is, what happens with whales has been a change. It doesn't have to be evolution across generation.
Go ahead, Lemon. Say that again.
Wait a minute.
What happened with Leo could have just been his body changing and getting used to his eyes looking in a certain direction. That doesn't necessarily mean evolution. Evolution, in one of its definitions, changes across generations. So we need a definition of evolution that's actually meaningful, where you see a change in evolution, preferably at the genetic level, where a new feature is evolved into.
Genetic change within a population over time. How about that?
But the definition is so murky.
Lemon, you're strawmanning Lyle, man. That's not what he said. That wasn't his argument.
You don't see that.
No, he's Lael's not supporting evolution, Lemon.
I don't believe evolution in the sense that Jem and all that Left Lane and them accept it. Okay, I do accept adaptation though, and I gave the example of your mother and father's DNA being separate DNA and it entering an egg and it forming you, and that's
not
an
adaptation.
example of adapting.
It's definitely not an example of that.
You don't
you
think
guys
it's
ever
an
heard
example
the
of
term?
adapting?
Have you ever heard the term born with blemish? You guys ever heard that term born with blemish?
Sure.
It used to be we used to use that terminology in replace of mentally ill, retarded, blemish, born with blemish, right? So you can get a species and multiple. Check this out. There's hundreds of thousands of people born with the same blemishes. You can get people that are midgets. You could get. You see what I'm trying? You see where I'm going?
But these are examples. These are examples of.
It all requires a seed of its own kind.
I don't know what
you cannot get a human. You cannot get a human from the seed of a tree, nor can you get a tree from the seed of a human.
All right, I think we've got the point. What you're doing is giving examples of genetic mutations. The ones you gave, most of them, I think, were what they would call deleterious mutations, which are, ultimately bad for the human being. But that's what they are. You're giving examples of these mutations that occur. Well, sometimes a mutation occurs which is advantageous to that organism, and that can then lead to that adaptation taking hold in the population, because that organism that has that adaptation has a better chance of survival, a better chance of reproducing, and if it passes that genetic change onto its offspring, they also have a better chance of survival and a better chance of reproducing. And then given it
example of one of these advantageous mutations.
Given it time, you have a population of organisms that all have that same adaptation.
If you've got an example of one, honestly, I don't know of one. It's a genuine question. An advantageous mutation.
There's a crucial point that you're missing here,
James. I was asking a question, buddy. Hang on.
Yeah, I mean, two obvious ones are in half of the human, a percentage of the human population, we have the ability to digest milk as adults, but a big proportion of the human population does not have that adaptation. Another one was the example given earlier of people living in the high Himalayas who have a really highly developed capillary system, far more blood vessels than most human beings do. Because over time, nearly there, one more sentence, nearly there. So because over time, the people living in those areas that have got the better capillary system, they have a better chance of living longer, reproducing. So do their offspring, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Okay, go back to that.
Let me respond.
All right,
please.
all right.
So, but how is that a mutation? Like, they're humans that have a capillary system, just like mine. Yes, theirs may have adapted or be better suited to that environment, but how is that a mutation? A mutation is someone who's grown a third arm, which allows them to type 150 words a minute.
No, it's not.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same biological structure.
That's just
not a mutation.
You're just thinking of Hollywood mutants or something.
No, I'm not.
A mutation.
Kind of facetious in my comment, Jim.
A mutation would be any genetic change that would be different from its parents, right?
Yeah, that's born with blemish.
No,
Well,
not
my parents don't have the same
not
situation.
born with blemish. Nothing to do with seeds.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
It has everything to do with seeds and eggs. You can block that out all you want, but you get rid of the seed and the egg, you ain't got shit.
Is a dark-skinned person, is that a mutation over a light-skinned person then?
Technically a mutation.
Opposite way round.
That's all.
Well, opposite way, yeah.
All mutation is something that's different, which means that if
black and white people, is that a mutation, Jim?
And the child has another colored eye, that's a mutation. In fact, technically, the fact that children have different amounts of hair on their body, if they have a difference of one more or less hair on their body, it's technically a mutation. All it means is to change something. So as long as it's different, it does technically qualify as a mutation.
Is that how it works?
All right, I just have a real quick question for Jem. Can I go back, Jem? What can you restate what you said about the milk drinking point? Can you say that again?
So I can't remember what the proportion is, but there's a proportion of adults humans that can digest milk as adults. Mainly people living in Europe and the USA, and where people have emigrated from Europe. And then there's a large proportion that cannot digest milk as adults. People live in Southeast Asia, Japan, I think China, I'm not quite sure, but those sort of countries, they can't digest milk as adults.
And how do you isolate the cause?
That goes down to protein, which goes down to genes.
Okay, again. How do you isolate the cause to tell what causes that change?
Well, the cause is a change in genes, right? We have different people who can digest milk as adults have a different set of genes to people who can't.
Right, Jim. So I asked you for an advantageous mutation, and that's one of the ones that you gave me. Right. How have you determined that we all originally could digest milk, and now the ones that can't? Why is that not a what would you call it? A deleterious mutation? Yes. How do you know which one's advantageous versus deleterious? How do you know which one was first?
Well, because if you look at other mammals, right? Most mammals, they suckle from their mother for a period of time.
From their own mother, yes, not from a different species, from their own mother.
Yeah. Well, where's that come from? Why did you feel the need to say that? Did you think I was suggesting they suckle from a different species? Why on earth did you say that? Anyway, they suckle from their mother for a period of time, and then they start eating solid food, right?
Well, yeah, but it seems to me that people that believe in evolution have a hard time understanding what a mother is.
You don't need the ability to digest milk as an adult. However, it is useful if you live in a place where it gets very cold in the winter and there isn't much for you to eat, right? Because if you can continue to consume milk during a period of time like that, milk, because it's the stuff that babies have, is very nutritionally what's the word? Round, if you like. It has a lot of the nutrients that you need to survive contained within milk.
So what is your
The mother's milk, not
I wouldn't even
We're talking
say
about mother's milk.
say fruit.
The ones that
Hold on,
can't
Jim.
digest milk, do they not breastfeed in those countries now, Jim? Is that what we're saying?
God. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. The adaptation. Listen carefully, because I said it very clearly several times.
I
Don't
heard
interrupt.
it, but you didn't answer my question.
You didn't. Because what I said was the adaptation was the ability to digest milk as an adult.
Yeah, he did say that, and the Bible does reference that milk is not for a man. He makes a good point, even for somebody like me that believes in flat Earth and the Bible, because the Bible does reference.
Question. What he's
Yeah, but I'm
asking
getting
is,
there.
how did you determine that wasn't something we could do the entire time? You're assuming
Exactly.
that we didn't have the ability at some point to do that.
Well, how is it
That's
then?
where I was going.
How is it that there are people who can't do that?
Yeah. How is it that there are
And
people
how is it that that's common throughout the mammal kingdom?
You're assuming how it is.
Well, we're coming up with an explanation for the evidence that we see. You can reject you can just reject the explanation if you like, if you don't think it's good enough, and that's fine. And that's fine.
Jim, if you get,
I would prefer it if you came up with a better idea, and I don't think you have one.
Jim, if you get rid of all the baby formula, if you get rid of all the grocery stores, okay, the only way an infant's going to survive is by
He never said infant.
Okay, just real quick. The real Bob Dole, your volume's really low for me. When you talk, I can't.
Yeah, I'm on my iPad. I'll switch over to the computer.
I would like to make a point here. Jem said adults, which is generally people 18 or over, and usually at that age you're not suckling from your mom.
Speak for
Hopefully.
yourself.
But I can give an example of what Jim's saying. I have a brother that can't drink milk anymore. He can't drink regular cow's milk anymore. His body is adapted to not be able to do that.
You know, I think this whole adaptation thing, if I was going to design a self-replicating creature that lives off of organic material for a particular environment, and there was changes in that environment, and I didn't know exactly what was going to happen within the environment, I would make it so that it could adapt smallly, or in small ways over time, and
but
adapt
why not
to the
make
environment it's in.
Right. Well, I think that's a good point. And if it is adapting in small ways over time, given enough time, all those small ways of adapting are going to add up into big, noticeable changes, right?
Yeah, I'm just not sure I can buy into pond scum becoming the diversity of life we see on Earth. That seems crazy, but I can't wrap my head
that ain't
around
necessarily.
a lot
Sorry,
of things
Brandon.
on that type of stuff. You know?
Just real quick, Lael.
That ain't necessarily true. I can't let him get away with that.
Hold on, I was just trying to talk, James.
He's going to get away with that.
And I don't think, I just want to make the point, although it's trivial, nobody's ever suggested it was pond scum.
Could you guys not hear me?
That's just creationist blabber, and you shouldn't really engage in it. But go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so just real quick, Lael, and anybody else out there who still believes that vaccines are safe, a lot of these quote unquote adaptations.
Where is this coming from, and why are you putting me on this?
Hold on. No. I don't know where. Okay, hold on.
Mentioning me.
Okay, hold on. Okay.
No, describe what you're telling. Put me in there. I never said one word about vaccines. This is like.
Okay.
This is like way 500 yards in left field.
Shut up! I'm addressing a point that you made, and I'm making a statement because it's going to trigger people who don't have a problem with vaccines. I don't know if that's you. If it's not, then don't get offended. Okay. My point is, your brother's inability or your brother's being lactose intolerant could very well be the result of a vaccine. okay? Just like asthma, just like all of these other deleterious aspects that we as humans now
Or it could
experience.
be an adaptation in his stomach, a change.
Hold on, okay? Now, I have 2 nephews that were damaged at birth from vaccines, okay? Their sister has no problems because they didn't vaccinate her, okay? The sister doesn't have any allergies. The sister isn't lactose intolerant. None of those. The 2 boys are, okay? All I'm saying is that's not adaptation, bro. That's damage. That's deleterious effects from shit that we put in our bodies and we put in our children.
Stupid argument, Travis, because I have 5 brothers. All of us were on the same vaccination.
Okay, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that you're all going to have that doesn't mean that you're all going to have the same.
Can I finish what I'm saying, Travis? Can I finish with what I'm saying, please? We were all on the same vaccination schedule. The 5 brothers don't have autism. I do. How is the vaccination the cause of that?
Listen very
they
carefully.
don't have it, and I do.
Some people don't die when they drive drunk,
very
dude. That
carefully.
doesn't mean that it's not dangerous.
Okay, hold on. Lael, all right? Now, I've had 5 children, okay? My firstborn son at the age of 3 had an adverse reaction, which was at first thought to be leukemia. But it was then classified as ITP. I can't remember how to pronounce it anymore. That was a side effect of vaccinations. None of my other children had ITP. Then my 3rd son had a seizure when he was 2 years old. None of my other children had seizures. Not everybody is going to react the same way to a same vaccination schedule, okay?
I want to point out, are your kids all on the same vaccination schedule, yes or no? Because me and my brothers were.
It doesn't matter.
Everyone's genetically different, Lyle. That's what every human is genetically different.
Medicine is practicing.
2 people won't react the same to anything because we have different biological makeup. We're all human, but there's intricacies that are different from person to person. So you give 2 identical twins the same thing, they won't necessarily react the same.
That's true, and I'm failing to see the correlation of vaccines to any condition necessarily, unless you've got a study that shows it.
Yeah, all I've heard is anecdotal evidence, at least tonight on this show. I just hear anecdotes from both sides. Really, I know my brother's this, and my friend's kids.
Right.
Well, there's also the fact that there's an entirely separate legal system set up for suing people for vaccination problems. I mean, that doesn't seem very anecdotal to me. That's just a thing that's out there. You can go find it yourself. They don't hide it. It's just part of it.
Referring to the stories that people told on the show tonight.
Part of the business.
Bob, not the information that's available out there in the world.
Okay. But
the
question wasn't answered yet.
The story was true.
About how the determination was made. Whenever it was asked about the determination for the alleged adaptation, whether it was a positive thing or a negative thing, or how they decided whether or not it was there before and changed, someone was talking about how other mammals or whatever, they breastfeed and then whenever they become an adult, they don't. That doesn't answer the question. Can you point to a human being
why not?
who
Why doesn't
is
answer the question?
incapable as an adult of processing their mother's breast milk?
Yeah. This is my point, Jim. When we get to adults, we drink the milk
so
of
you don't know
other
if that's actually
species,
the
not
thing
humans.
you're describing isn't the same as consuming dairy. That's not how that works. The mother's breast milk is not the same as a cow's milk.
It is
you
lactose.
could just be allergic to the cow's milk.
Right, but the people the people who left Africa 200,000 years ago and moved up into Europe, they
didn't happen.
Listen. When the cold winters happened, they didn't start suckling on their mother's milk again. They drank cow's milk and goat's milk.
You were there to
and sheep's
verify
milk.
that?
Different
Were you,
species.
Jeff?
And that's
Different species.
and that's what the adaptation. That's what
You-
the adapt.
You were there to verify it?
And that's
how
what
that
the
happened?
and that's what the adaptation is. Well,
You were there to verify that.
No,
that
I
took place.
wasn't. No, I wasn't there
Right?
to verify
Exactly.
that. Obviously,
That doesn't help anybody if we're looking for what actually is
we know
taking
that. But we,
You said-
we,
you said
hang on, let me respond. We believe that is true because of the evidence that supports it. Of course I wasn't there. That's true of everything historical before 1965 in my case. I do not deny the existence or the occurrence of every event before 1965 because I wasn't there. And to pretend that I should is ridiculous.
No, I didn't say that you should. But
Okay,
it
so
is
why
useless for
did I
convincing
need
us.
to be there then?
It's not helpful.
Why were you
saying
asking if
something
I was there
happened
then?
200,000 years ago does not in
why-
any way prove your
So
point.
why were
and
you
does not
asking
answer
if
the
I was
question.
there? So why were you
That's
asking
right.
if I was? So why were you asking if I was there?
Jam.
As if the,
Okay,
as if
here
why
it
I
is.
was asking.
as if-
Here it
I
is,
just
Jam.
explained
Hold
to you
on,
exactly
Bob.
why I was
Jam,
asking.
Bob.
Your
Jam, Bob.
answer
Jam, Bob.
does not answer his
Jam.
question.
Bob,
So-
Jam, Bob.
It ignores it or avoids
so,
it.
so why were you asking me if I was there?
Jam,
If-
just,
I just
real
told you.
quick. Just
No,
real
you
quick,
didn't.
Jam. Jam,
Because-
Jam.
No,
Here's the
not
answer.
just real quick. I'm still
Yeah,
talking.
I'm going to
Shut
answer
the
your
fuck up.
question. I'm going to
How?
answer your question.
So you're going to answer the question. You're going to
Yeah.
answer why he said that for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, go on. This should be good. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's forget about the fact that he asked if you were there.
Oh, so you're not going to answer that.
No,
You're going to
I
talk
am.
about
I'm leading
something
up to
else.
it. What's the matter, Jim? I'm leading up to it, okay?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Nobody was there making these observations that you're concluding or that you're believing that were concluded, okay? His question to you is extended back to no one was there.
Again, we believe things to be true in the historical past because of the historical evidence.
No one has the documentation of when
No,
they
you needed to
started
block. You needed to block me out. You needed to
We
block
can
me
start
out.
from
I
there,
didn't
Jam.
say anything-
trying to correct
I didn't
you
say
again.
anything about documentation. I said evidence.
Okay, listen, Jem.
Where's the evidence?
Wait, hold on, Etherband. Just listen. We can start from there, Jem. You believe that this took place 200,000 years ago because of the evidence that you've been showing.
Right.
That does not in any way verify, prove, or answer the question that was asked. What it does is tells us what you believe about what took place 200,000 years
Okay,
ago.
so what does verify and
It
prove?
doesn't confirm it at all.
Okay, so what does verify and prove mean, and what would qualify something to be verified or proven?
By demonstrating it taking place. That's how you verify something.
Right.
So can you demonstrate this taking place?
Right. So you only believe any historical.
Can you do that? You just asked me what would take.
Am I allowed to answer, or do you have to interrupt when I've said two words?
It didn't sound like your answer. Sounded like you were moving on.
No,
Or
well,
asking me a
I'm trying
question.
to respond to your ridiculous demand.
Okay. You're going to
Which
show
one?
us a demonstration.
Right. So what you're saying is you only believe things have
Oh
happened.
no, you're going to ask a question instead of answering the question. You're just going to ask a
I'm
question.
clarifying the question. What you?
No,
What you're saying-
you're not clarifying the question.
Are you going to
It
let me
doesn't need
answer?
clarification.
Are you going
It
to let
sounds
me
like
answer?
you're
Are
changing
you
the question.
just going to keep
That's what it
interrupting?
sounds like.
You
I would
don't,
like
well,
you to
well, I'll
answer the
tell you
question
what.
and
Instead
then
of
ask
going,
your question.
I'll tell you what.
Why don't you
Instead of
just answer first and then ask your question?
Instead
How
of
about
going
that?
on, instead of going on what it sounds like, why not wait until it's finished and then know what it sounds like? Right? Actually know what I'm going to say instead of going on what you think I might be about to say. What you're saying is that you only accept anything that has happened historically if someone can demonstrate the historical.
No, I didn't say that. You're wrong. So,
Okay.
do you want to answer the question now?
Right, I'm going to finish what I'm saying.
Well, I didn't say that. So your summary of
Well,
what I
that's-
said is incorrect. Just so
Okay.
everybody's aware, what he just said I said is incorrect, entirely
Right.
false, not true.
Right. All right. Well, I'll answer your question. I'll answer your
you wrong,
question.
but there's
I'll
nothing
answer
wrong
your
with that.
idiotic. I'll answer your idiotic question.
Settle down.
Obviously, to any normal, reasonable adult, Any normal, reasonable adult would know that, of course, I can't demonstrate a historical occurrence to him. That's ridiculous, absurd, and for him to demand it is also ridiculous and absurd. And then when I tried to corner him with the absurdity of what he's demanding, he said, oh, no, I'm not saying that. Okay, so what else do you accept other than a demonstration? What else do you accept as evidence of a historical event?
Now, let me clarify. I'm not asking you to demonstrate a historical event. I'm asking you to demonstrate the thing that you claim is the case right now. You claim it happens right now, all the time, continuously, currently.
Bob, let me just jump in,
You claim
because I'm
it
part of
happens,
this as well.
Demonstrate it happening now like you say it does.
Here's what's absurd, Jim. Well, here's what's absurd is that you are now making the claim, I'm assuming that you're making a claim that this anomaly of some people can digest milk, some adults can and some can't. You're making a claim that that is an adaptation. That claim is what's absurd because you have no proof or evidence to support that whatsoever.
Well, I've already provided some of the evidence for it. So to just say there's none whatsoever is just... Well, it's just ignorant.
How would you define the evidence that you provided? Would you say it would be circumstantial?
Well, why don't you guys tell me what the things I said, since I said nothing?
I'm not trying to get on your bad side, Jim. I'm not trying to get on your bad side. I'm asking a serious question.
About
evidence. There's different types of evidence.
About 40% of adults in the world retain the ability to digest lactose after childhood, okay? I've provided my explanation for that. Do you guys have one?
Well, I would say that there's
just it is what it is.
So many,
genetic disposition.
It is what it is.
Genetic disposition.
Brilliant. What a brilliant, curious mind you must be. It is what it is.
Can I answer it before?
It's a genetic disposition.
Just let me answer it.
So why
Hold on. Let me say something. I've been quiet,
why is it geographic?
Jim.
Hey, can I just say real quick? Hold on.
There's too many different variables, right? There's too many different variables. Now, here's the thing that you guys are ignoring that I wanted to say earlier, because what would you agree with? What term would you agree with more? Medicine is always practicing, or medicine is fact?
Practicing.
I hope this has got something to do with digesting milk, James. Otherwise, you just
if you're practicing medicine, hold on.
There are facts.
So I'm getting there. If you let me finish, I'm getting there. So you'll see, like, at least once every week, on whatever. If you watch I quit watching television programs. This is how it used to be when I watched them. You would see a commercial where if you've taken this pill, if you've had this surgery, you could be highly compensated, right? So even I hate to say vaccinations because it's not a good thing to use right now, but just don't take it there. Vaccinations is an experiment.
Well, there's
so
some.
Hold on. Let me finish. 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Oh my James.
So even before the doctor takes the oath on being a physician, they know that it's all experimental because they can understand what's happening in their lifetime, but they'll never know what it causes throughout, let's say, 200 years, right? And once it does cause something far in the future, 200 years, it's going to be hard to detect why that happened. You're not going to know that it was that. You see what I'm trying to say?
And there's no double lines.
Yeah, so there are certain anatomies that are absolute science, cause and effect.
I'm just saying, that's longer than 30 seconds.
You put anesthetics in somebody, if you put the right amount, you hydrate them, it'll not only make them pass out where they don't feel pain, but they'll also wake up in a certain amount of time, right? So the doctor can cut you open, and he knows that a certain amount of pressure on the skin with the knife will open you up. So that's a science that's a fact. So I'm not trying
30 seconds, James.
I'm not trying to deny anatomy, as I know, but I knew somebody was going to bring that up. I'm not trying to deny anatomy like there's not certain known cause and effects that are absolutely a fact, right? But in medicine, It's not. It's unknown. Go ahead.
Really? Trial and error.
Yeah.
Hey, what's wrong with you? I don't know. Just take this route. Let's see if it fixes.
Well, I wanted to comment on the topic we were actually talking about before. I was going to mention to you, Jem, there's a lot of complexities with lactose and lactase. One thing is that raw milk and pasteurized milk are very different. Certain people that can't handle lactose on pasteurized milk, if they consume raw milk contains lactase and lactose, whereas in the pasteurization process, lactase is destroyed, which makes it more challenging for people to utilize lactose. There's also a difference between cow's milk and goat's milk and camel's milk, meaning people that have issues with cow lactose don't have issues with goat milk or camel milk as well. It seems that cow's milk is a highly, highly genetically modified compound, and there's several compounds. There's the A1, A2 protein problem. There's the lactose problem. So cow's milk in particular is a huge problem for a lot of people for a lot of reasons.
This all boils down to just
hold on. I was still on topic. You made it sound like I wasn't. All I was saying is the practice of medicine could be the cause of lactose intolerance. So you acted like I wasn't on topic. You said I'm going to go back to the topic.
Except to respond to that, and
it was my whole point. The practice of medicine could be the cause. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm definitely no expert in this, and I'm reading this as we speak. But there is a definite DNA change that we can track, and it occurs actually in a couple of different places in the DNA sequence. So it's not exactly the same, but it is in a very they're very closely related, these changes. But there is a definite change in DNA that what does it do? It switches off a receptor that allows us to allows our cells to recognize lactase, I think, or something along those lines. But like I say, I'm literally reading this as we speak. So there is a definite change in the DNA that we can track, is the point of all that.
For that, are you talking about the A1, A2?
I don't know.
It's also the RNA, Jim. Keep reading, you'll get to that.
There's a bunch of problems, but I mean, cows are such a high
James, you don't know you haven't got a fucking clue what I'm reading. You don't know what I'm even talking about. So don't pretend that you're ahead of me on this, because you're not.
He's the only one.
When you're talking about seeds.
One of the main well-known they don't claim it's a modification. The mainstream claims that it just happened out of the blue, but to me, it's 100% modification. It's pretty clear. There's a book written on it called "The Devil in the Milk." What it is that there's difference between A1 and A2 protein. I won't go into too much complexity, but essentially A2, that's the type of protein that's in mother's milk, goat milk. All milk is A2. The only thing that has this A1 is this cow's milk, which has a portion of A1. And it has to do with these amino acids. One of them is out of sync, and essentially it creates something called BCM7, beta casein morphine 7. It's a morphine compound. It's addictive. It's actually addictive like morphine. It's been linked to heart disease and a whole slew of other health issues. And this is what the A1 protein causes. So the A1 protein is in all cow's milk.
I think A2 original natural cow milk has got A2 in it. A1 is a man-induced genetically modified result. It's not A2, because in Australia they've got A2 cows, a whole herd of them. There's A2 is actually the natural state of cow's milk. That protein is in proper original cow's milk. It's only since we've mucked around with it that we've got A1.
Exactly. Yeah. The A2, it would be the original sort of cow's milk. But in this day and age, virtually all cow's milk is going to have some A1. You are right. There's some companies that are marketing their milk as, A2 milk. Even some of those are not even 100% A2. But yeah, there is more awareness around it. I've actually had A2 cow's milk. It is dramatically better. So yeah, you're right. But the problem is that the A1 is in virtually 90-something% of all cow's milk. So the A1 has unfortunately just completely spoiled the milk, to use an analogy. It's literally so in there. The A1 is in virtually, it's just been spread like crazy. So
well, there we had it. We settled it.
I deserve everything you said, Jim. I deserve everything you just said about me, Jim. I did assume. Assumed you was looking up when you said receptors. I assumed you was looking up the one we're not supposed to talk about. So I deserve everything you said.
Hey guys, I've got a flat Earth related thing. There's a very interesting discussion about the evolution and adaptation and stuff. I did do a poll while we were talking, and I asked, is there a connection between evolution and the shape of the Earth? And 48% said no, 35% said yes, and 16% said they don't give a fuck. So just a little information there.
Well, I think it's intimately connected. I don't want to just totally change the topic, but I will throw this out there because I wanted to share it with you guys. I was at the grocery store last night, and I went back in just to use the restroom real quick, and I saw a guy at the cash register, checking out, and he had the AE map. He had like a tank top, and it had the AE map right on his shirt, and I was like, oh, cool. So I figured if he was hanging out outside afterwards, maybe I would go up and chat with him. And so I came out, and there he was, chilling there. So I went up to him and gave him a fist bump, and I'm like, dude, Earth is flat. And he's like, yep. And then I asked him how he figured it out. And we ended up talking for like 3 hours. This guy was just amazing, just this brilliant on so many levels. We had the most incredible talk. And we were talking about like Tartaria and the great world's fairs that were happening in the early 1900s. And anyways, I know it's a whole different topic, although it is kind of connected to evolution. I mean, there's just this idea that there's been a huge reset that happened potentially in the 1800s before this whole globe, everything that started being pushed. And so I don't know, like I said, I don't want to just totally derail it into a whole nother topic, but it's been, I've looked into Tartaria to some degree, but he had so much knowledge about it and was just dropping, like I was red pilled, which is rare for me to say these days, that somebody, that was able to happen for me. And it was just amazing. Like he just dropped so much information about our true history, or at least, speculations and thoughts about what our true history is and what actually is going on, which I think plays into the evolution story, because it seems like, what came along with the globe deception is this evolution story and the dinosaur story. There's this whole thing to cover up our history and what actually is going on. And I think evolution is one of the main ways that they do that.
It is all about the same narrative. Now, whether or not, obviously if you're a heliocentrist and believe in evolution, you're not going to call it a narrative, but it is all kind of part of a package from my
I would like to say
my
something.
point of view.
What if there's you mentioned the Great Reset in 1800 when they started pushing the globe. So what if there's books printed before the 1800s that talk about the Earth being a sphere?
Well, I would,
Copernicus, he lived way before 1800.
Right, and Copernicus's book was published after he was, I think murdered, after he died.
Yeah, that's correct. Around the time
you
of
guys
his
really
death,
don't know how they
way before 1800.
I guess this is the topic of fake history. What I would say is I question all of what we're told about history. The Wild West, the Great Depression, I was going to say the Dark Ages. I question all of it. So
question or deny, because if you're talking about mud floods, you are denying, aren't you? You on a massive scale.
Why do you say that?
As we're taught it.
Why do you say deny? Why do you want to use the word deny instead of question?
Well, because the mud floods are just not part of our history at all, and they would demand that what is part of our history is all completely false. Vast swathes of it.
Yeah, that's the possibility, is that not only have we been completely lied to about, the Big Bang, evolution, the globe Earth, all of that, but that the history has been massively fabricated to a profound degree. Even the idea that the Civil War didn't exist, that a lot of those pictures were taken. When I was looking at John Levy, some of his videos, which are great on him, he was going through some of these old war pictures. These things looks like the same as the astronauts. They're staged photos. I was just laughing at it. This is ridiculous. It's just the astronauts of their days just fake staging these things.
Jim, that's where the question part comes in.
Hold on. What do you think they should be doing? Snapping selfies? I mean, of course they're staged. Each one probably took had to be exposed for like a minute or 30 seconds or something like that. I mean, of course, they had to stand stock still for, like I say, about a minute. And there was a time.
That's true. Those daguerreotypes, I think, is what they're called. They did take a long time.
And there was a time when it just wasn't fashionable to smile in a photograph, and nobody did. If you look at all these old photos, nobody smiles in them. And then there's some point in history where people start smiling in photos, and after that, everyone's smiling. But before that point, no one is. But what I don't get, Gio, is what process do you have for knowing anything in history? If you're going to reject everything that we have based on all the evidence that supports it, what process do you have left for finding out the truth?
There you go. You're just a few steps away, Jem. Come on. You can do it.
What do you mean, there you go? I'm pointing out the complete absurdity of this idea.
No, it's a good question.
Why do you say it's absurd, Jem? I'll let Gio answer, but I want to point out. I want to point out to you, Jem, that there is precedent for history being erased and covered up. And if there was a huge event, say one group got control over the majority of the world, who's to say that they didn't go ahead and do that? The Russians did that after the revolution in the 1900s.
It seems like a bit of an odd way to establish the principle that we shouldn't accept historical evidence.
I have to join.
Can I finish? That we shouldn't accept historical evidence because you have some historical evidence that historical evidence was faked in some way.
No, that it's okay to question it. That's all I'm saying, Jim.
Well, let me say this. I have to
question
join.
all of it, and you're fine with that, right,
Well, of course you can question it, but you aren't questioning it, are you? You're
I
saying
have
it
to join.
didn't happen, and this other thing actually did happen. You're not
I don't know that anyone
I will.
It's so dishonest.
Hold on a second, Jen. I will respond, but it sounded like Silent Zero was going to speak, so I'll go after Silent Zero.
Yeah, I had to join just to say that, Jem. You saw that in a movie. That thing about the smiling. The movie is called A Thousand Ways to Die. That's in a movie, buddy. Should be.
So what? That doesn't mean it's not true.
Jem busted out.
You dumbass.
Hold on a minute. Hang on a minute.
I'm leaving.
Hang on. Since we're all mocking me, just because something was recalled in a movie doesn't make it not true.
That's okay. Half of what I know I got from Top Gun.
It doesn't make it true, Jim. It doesn't make it true.
It's not true. Just because something's on the internet doesn't mean it's not true.
I haven't presented a movie as evidence of something, have I? I just
hold on.
I just said this is a thing that was true. If this
You just made a claim, that's all.
If this thing that was true happened to be recounted in some movie, that doesn't make it not true, and it doesn't mean the only thing supporting the truth is the movie. You people are so ridiculous.
Okay, Jem. Hold on, Silent Zero. Here's the question, Jem. Jem, to the best of your ability, what can you tell us where you got the information that people didn't use?
No, I picked it up somewhere. Just some little.
Okay, hold on now. Hold on.
Well, you hold on. No, you hold on. Before we go any further, exactly what hypothesis?
Why are you so triggered, bro?
Because you people are being so utterly ridiculous.
I'm having a conversation with you. I have a question.
Okay, so I'm asking you a question. What hypothesis did I establish to be true with my anecdote about photographs?
What hypothesis did you establish to be true? That
Yes.
there was a time at which people did not smile in pictures.
Right. Okay. So so I retract that completely.
Okay, so you're retracting that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you questions about your knowledge.
That's
fine.
So does that mean you agree that they do look a little bit suspicious because you don't have that reason?
Not in
that
any
they don't?
way.
Oh,
no.
Okay. So the reason that you gave
Why
is
would
no
I?
longer valid, and you still believe that.
The reason that I gave was because they're long exposures, and they had to stand still a lot.
Well, Jem, I guess what I would say, I mean,
Jem.
this whole topic
That's the reason I gave, wasn't it?
All right, hold on real quick.
That was the reason I gave, wasn't it?
But before the camera, Jim.
Come on, you can say yes. You can say yes. Come on.
Jim,
Yes.
before the camera, they hired people. They were known as artists, and they would paint the king's face. And the king would pick his artist. He would, I want you. I'm going to pay you. I want to make sure you get me looking as close as, because he wants his face to go on, especially if he knows he's going to die, right? So when you say camera and you see, the thing you guys are missing is ink, I-N-K, ink, right?
That's we could talk about those photos being fake.
That's the best way to trace the time. Like if the book
it's
wasn't
just your
scanned.
total inability to
listen
see
to me,
something in
me
any
quick,
kind of
man.
historical context. You just think everything should be like 21st century America, and if it isn't, it's weird and suspicious.
No, you're picking out what I'm getting ready to say. What I'm getting ready to say is you're picking out things that go with what you want and ignoring the things that don't. I was going to get to
what is the thing I'm ignoring? You're saying that pictures can be fake. Okay, I know. So what?
Yes. So that goes back to it goes back to ink, I-N-K.
Right.
That's the best way they do is if the book isn't dated. Let me finish. If the book is not dated, meaning people like you and me just wrote something down that happened in history in case people was writing it down wrong, you decided you would write down what happened, right? So they would be able to determine books that aren't dated by the ink, especially when it comes to world leaders, kings, queens. They stuck with you in the time span, if I remember correctly, when you study ink, is a decade. So within the decade, you'll have multiple inks, new inks that are coming out, right? But the world leaders will stick to their ink throughout the decade, and then they might progress to a new ink. So the best way they do historical books written by man is by the ink and what was used in the ink. And it's all dated at least back to Julius Gaius Caesar is when the ink thing is known to be started. At least I think it was before then. But
so what's your point? Do you think that you can use the ink to trace when it was actually written, or?
Well, you can use the ink and you can get like, you got one guy writing something that's totally off the wall of what everybody else is writing, right? So you dismiss what that guy wrote. You just dismiss what he wrote because everybody else with different inks on different countries, land masses, right? They all had different inks. That's what's crazy. But if you study ink, it's fucking crazy what ink is, man. Yeah, it's just study ink.
Yeah, we'll have to look into
and
ink.
Seals.
INK.
Because if you study ink, it'll go into seals. The further you go back, it starts going into clay. And
but how much of that is pseudoscience? That's the question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that difficult.
I would agree. I would agree.
Oh my God.
It's hard to.
Hold on, let Gio.
I guess you just.
Okay,
I guess James just wants to talk the whole show, so I guess we'll just let him talk forever.
Go ahead, Gio.
Ink.
Gio.
Well, I think I was just trying to say that, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, how much of that can be pseudoscientific at the end of the day? I mean, it's easy to like read things about how they are. It's just like moon rocks. It's the same thing. You know, how are they analyzing that the moon rocks are really from the moon? How can we analyze that some of these historical documents or, you know, particular things are actually from that period that they're claiming it's from? And the same with dinosaur bones. I mean, there's a lot of people that think that there used to be giants, even not that long ago, even in the 1800s, and that's what those huge bones are. And whenever you get, you know, whenever anyone finds one of these bones, you know, it's illegal to keep them. You have to give them to the Smithsonian. Who knows what they do with them? So it's just wild to think of how much we're actually being lied to, even beyond the globe Earth, about where we actually come from. I mean, there seems like there could have been a massive genocide that happened in the 1800s. all the major cities in the United States were all like either earthquake or fire.
Why, Gio? Why do you
burned to
believe
rubble
this?
in
Why
the
do you
early
believe
1900s.
this? Why do you believe this? If you're rejecting the current evidence that exists for the account of history, how are you able to take on any other evidence?
What evidence are you suggesting? What we see is architecture that's left over from what was going on. I mean, have you seen like some of these photos from the times of the Great World Fairs? Have you seen the architecture? I mean, Tesla was doing these presentations. They had electric cars. They had looks like free energy. They had these steam trains and trolleys. Like they had architecture that was way more advanced than we even have today. And it all was turned to rubble. Every major city was literally burned, and earthquakes came through all major cities, and they were crumbled to the ground.
Not true in any way. There's cities in the UK that go back to the Romans. We've still got Roman walls here. I mean, what?
Notre Dame wasn't burned.
I didn't say. Look, I didn't say no building. I didn't say no building has ever been destroyed, and just mention a building that's been destroyed and I'm debunked. I mean, come on, guys.
Well, the bigger
Jim,
thing is
it's a curiosity.
Not even about evidence
Jim,
anymore.
in Rome, you go to Rome today, and they're excavating ancient Rome in the middle of Rome. Okay, digging it up out of the dirt. Ancient Rome, right in the middle of the road, a mile up the road from the Colosseum. I've been there. How is it that a city been continuously populated for thousands of years gets buried under dirt, whereby they are now digging it out 2,000 years later? This city of 2,000 years ago, while people have been living there. I mean, is London built on top of old London?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yes. Of course.
So nobody noticed that there were just 50 feet of dirt building up over the top of a city while they were living there.
You'd have to look at the specific circumstances for the actual area that you're talking about, which you haven't done. You've just leapt to the conclusion that confirms your bias. So what do you know? So what do you know specifically about Rome? What is the mainstream explanation that's offered for this, and why do you reject it?
Where are all the bulldozers that push the dirt over ancient Rome, ancient London, 1,000 years ago? How come those aren't being dug up?
Oh, that's a good point, because you guys are claiming that they had all this, antiquitech and all this crap. Where are all the bulldozers? Good point.
There's pictures of the Antiquitech and a lot of this technology. Looks like there's Tesla towers. Looks like they had free energy. I mean, where did these cities go? Why were they all crumbled to the ground? Why were they replaced with this crap architecture that we have today? And the only thing that's left over are things like the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, like some of these buildings that had that original,
Can you say crap architecture? We've got buildings now that would have been impossible even 20 years ago. How can you possibly say? I just don't get it.
Library of Alexandria was burned, apparently. Let's say the Library of Congress, was burned.
Keep coming up with examples of buildings that have been destroyed.
What's underneath?
A compelling argument.
In my mind, this discussion is ultimately flat Earth 2.0. I mean, the first thing is that the Earth is flat. It's what our ancient ancestors always thought it was. That much is just absolutely established, other than people that want to fight and say that, I don't know, make up lies about curvature. But in reality, that's what it is. The next step is what actually is going on. Who's been lying to us? How long have they been doing it? And what is our real history? And what is our real potential as humans? Like this is really what's coming in terms of these people in power now and how they even got here and what our actual real history is.
It's like you were standing in the street naked as a flat earther and everyone was laughing at you and you thought, I know, I'll put on a GIMP costume. That's what you've just done.
Yeah, but what you're saying, Jim, is instead of clothing the naked person, you're just going to laugh at him.
Yeah.
And that shows you why people didn't smile in the past.
Because they don't want to wear clothes.
It's completely ridiculous and absurd. But worse than that, it's
But
completely.
you're saying that you're just laughing at it as a globe earther. You just.
Let me finish.
Yeah, Jim, it's funny you're calling people gimps.
Can I finish?
Well, you're the one calling people gimps, whereas in reality, what you're doing is just sucking up, like gimps do, all of the information that's been force-fed to you, and then defending it like a demonic cuck.
I'm not defending anything. I'm pointing out how ridiculous this idea is.
You're telling me I'm ridiculous because I'm looking at photos during this time that show architecture of cities that we don't have left anymore.
Can I finish, or do you need to block me out? Is it that bothersome to you to hear this ridiculous idea challenged?
Jim, you are irrelevant. You are irrelevant and meaningless, and your efforts are failing on every level. So go ahead and speak whatever you want to speak.
My efforts to do what? To be entertained? Trust me.
To try to shut down the truth. You will fail always trying to shut the truth down.
Nobody's trying to
You
shut
are
down the truth.
irrelevant.
Dude, I do a show every 2 weeks.
And your show is irrelevant.
Can I finish? Am I allowed to finish a single fucking sentence, moron? I do a show every week where I take the stuff that you claim is the truth and show it to everyone. So there's no way I'm trying to shut it down. But what gets me about this is it's so illogical because you take historical evidence and you say, we can't accept this. It's historical evidence. And then you go, but I believe this bullshit to be true because of some made up historical evidence. It's totally illogical.
Your lies are crumbling. Your empire is crumbling very quickly, Jem. It's crumbling quickly, and you cannot hold on to it any longer.
Yeah. What does that mean? Okay, explain that. Hold on a minute. Explain that to me.
What he means is your historical.
In what way has this crumbling manifested itself? Go ahead and explain it to me, Gio.
Fake empire, the fake world that they took over, the fake globe, and the fake history is crumbling. You are the fake pusher.
In what way is it crumbling?
Trying to defend it with every ounce of your might. By having a Discord server, by building a Discord server that's based upon bizarre abuse and ridicule and virtual violence, that's your goal, is to defend this fake empire and this fake takeover. What I'm telling you is that it will crumble. Your fake empire will crumble.
You tell me what already is crumbling. Okay, so again, how has this crumbling manifested itself? I heard you claim that it's crumbling. What's the evidence of the crumbling?
The awakening is already underway. Well, already happening.
They're using theater.
Gio, you are delusional. You should see a psychiatrist.
The ignorance is being exposed. That's the crumbling.
That's the friendliest thing I can say to you, Gio, is get professional help.
Oh, come on. That's uncalled for.
No, it's not.
Jim, we go back 5-6 years, dude. We go back like
he doesn't sound crazy to me at all. He doesn't sound crazy to me at all.
If he believes the things he's saying, he's completely delusional. Mental.
He doesn't sound delusional at all.
Stay away from psychiatrists.
Well, that's because you're mental too.
I'm mental too. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
So you double that down, Jem, with telling us to go to the fake empire, fake physicians that give fake chemical poisons to fake suppress this human psyche. That's your goal? Go to a psychiatrist and take chemicals to destroy the brain? Wow, you've just doubled down on the demonic cucking.
I didn't say that. Everyone.
I didn't say that.
Psychiatrists.
I didn't say any of that.
Retrain your brain.
That's what you decided your treatment would be. That isn't necessarily what you're.
That's a great way to go through life. Just claim everything is fake. Yep.
Yeah, Jim.
Jim, your analogy earlier. You're walking down this New York strip. I don't think you said New York. I think you just said street. You're walking down the New York strip naked, and everybody's laughing at you because you're a flat earther. I wouldn't care what you believed in, Jim.
Yeah, he's no longer.
I'd walk up to you with a blanket, and I'd cover you.
He's no longer with us.
Yeah, he flounced.
Let's go with it.
He's looking for clips.
Check. What's going on, everyone?
And then run away.
He dug himself a hole. I bet if we go digging around, we can find him.
Hey, and the thing too is that he's making fun of other people being a gimp, when he's an actual GIMP.
That's how it works.
He's just
Well, I see it on both sides, guys. Even as a flat earther, I'm literally starting to see flat versus globe as a tribal community.
Tribalism.
It's tribalism. It's like,
and it's
I'm like,
perfect.
so I'm questioning myself, not the fact that the Earth is flat, just in what I'm involved with.
Yeah,
and how
tribalism is 100%
influencing
explained.
And how
And
it's
actually,
influencing
and how
younger
important
people.
that is. Yeah, how important that is, James.
Yeah, tribalism is fully explained on the flat Earth. 100%.
Well, I even get hostile. You guys have known me to get hostile, and I have no reason to get hostile. But I'm not gonna act like I'm innocent. I get tribal over the damn topic.
Exactly.
I mean, the thing about the history is, like, people have accepted. He's got a hot mic.
Is John's mic open? What's going on?
I think I rock well.
Your mic's open.
Right, that's really what I'm shooting for, to make sure that.
All right.
What I was just gonna say about the history, I mean, the thing is that what Jem does is he accepts what he's been told as "quote unquote" evidence, and he thinks that that's lock, stock, 100% solid evidence because he trusts the people that are, suggesting that that's evidence. Just like people suggesting that they found another planet out in the galaxy, or Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's the same thing. It's a similar type of accepting.
Bob, the science guy, said it right earlier, right? It's like, it's the best we have. Well, you haven't looked any further, Bob. Right? So, of course, immerse yourselves in these books and all these writings. That's
Where's
the
your
best
evidence?
you think you have, but you haven't looked any further.
It's so weird. It's so weird. It's so weird that they assert the mainstream as truth, and then anything else that contradicts is deemed crazy.
These people are all CIA. I'm convinced.
It's flat versus globe.
Elijah, your mic's really
globe
low.
versus globe is no different than Republican versus Democrat.
No.
It's almost like another. It's almost like another.
Whoever said that, I'm actually starting to believe that some of them are CIA.
To be fair, James, don't bring it there yet to the the R's and the D's and the donkeys.
You sort of have people that believe in science and people that don't.
It's philosophical. Politics is philosophical.
We're really good in a
We're
really
Did
good.
you just say, hey, NASA Shill, that you have people that believe in science and you have people that don't believe in science?
You see, there are people that believe, that think you believe in science, and science is not a belief system. I keep telling you guys this. Science is the opposite of a belief system.
But you just said there's people who believe in science and people who don't.
No, you misunderstood what I said.
What did you say then?
Yeah,
Clarify.
but you could still have cause and effect without fully understanding the phenomenon, right?
So you don't believe in science.
Precisely the belief in science that we push back on. The belief in science.
Yeah. What is it exactly?
Something that's supposed to be
NASA Shill, what is it exactly that we don't believe?
And what do you call that, Brandon, when you say the word believe and science in the same sentence? Say, what do you call that?
I don't know about that. It's fine for people to
not
believe in
idiot,
science.
contradiction, idiot, no, whatever. Irony, right?
It is a contradiction if you take science.
Question is, are you trying to force other people to believe it based on your own ideas?
That's what I have a problem with. Elijah, your mic is so low we can't hear you.
That's where the real problem comes in. They can go ahead and believe whatever they want. It doesn't really matter. You can believe we're living on a hexagonal Earth that's inverted and upside down, and spinning 7 billion miles an hour.
But there's always
The question is, are you going to attempt to affect someone else's life because you believe that?
It's not a belief, you fucktard. I keep telling you this.
Yes, it's a belief.
Well,
That's what a belief
no,
is.
it's not a belief.
Names. Do you think it's 100% a belief? 100%.
No.
You think that belief is somehow a weak word or something.
System.
It's tribalism.
The only thing that would get you, if you was never taught.
Guys, too many people talking at the same time.
Hold on, guys. This is important. If you was never taught the heliocentric model,
what's a theory?
You would never even think it was.
You don't know what a theory is, do you? You don't know what belief is
you
either.
Gotta be fed that
Explain your belief to me. What a theory is.
no belief about a theory. It's a definition.
Of what?
You know it. Look it up.
Is NASA
a
under the
belief.
impression that the word
Of a
belief
belief.
automatically makes the thing untrue, whatever it is?
No, that's atheism that does that for them. An
No,
atheist
belief.
can just
What
say
does-
they
what they- what
believe
does-
something or they don't believe it, and that makes it true or untrue, or true or false.
People believe
If
true
you,
things.
if you use the scientific method, then you will establish, or you won't. And if you don't establish a cause and effect, you wouldn't make the claim if you're a true scientist. But there's
how does one establish truth? That's the bigger question. How does one establish what is true or what isn't
That's
true?
actually that's a separate thing, though. We don't need to
No,
get
it's
off on
not,
those beats
man.
right
It's
this
totally
second.
together,
That's actually a
dude.
separate thing.
But
Hold
James,
on, I'll
that's
tell you why
why
it's not.
scientists
What,
wear-
I'll tell you why
scientists-
it's not.
What is a
scientists
belief?
wear
What
white
does
coats,
your good book?
right?
Hey,
Scientists wear white coats.
Guys, if you hear
and
someone else talking,
theoretical
please don't start
physicists
talking.
wear suits, okay?
So, what does your book define belief as? Come on, you know it.
Wait, what?
What book are you talking about? Yeah, where are we at here?
I'm talking about.
Well, the thing is, I was going to say this. Pay Nestor.
quote
Here's the thing. Let's say that 10 of us do a scientific experiment. Okay, so we all do it, whether it's like what temperature does water boil at or whatever it may be. Okay, so 10 of us, we all do that, right? And then we all go and we go to an 11th person. We go to the 11th person. Let's for the moment call that you, and we say, hey, we did all this science, and this is what it came up with. If you blindly believe us and you just say, because you think that we're authority, and you haven't verified it, but you just think that we're right, and then you run around, you go out and you tell everyone else in the town, hey, these 10 guys, they're you got to believe in them. You got to believe in them. Now, we might be doing the real scientific method. That could be true. However, if you haven't verified that, you haven't been the scientist yourself, then what you're doing is blindly believing in the science that we did, and then you're running around telling everybody that it's something they need to believe in.
So you have to
nice try.
you literally just described the growth paradigm perfectly. Literally.
It only needs to make sense. Yeah, it needs to make sense.
I gotcha.
Where's
Yeah,
making
it does
come
need to
into
make
the
sense.
scientific
It
method?
literally needs to make sense.
So Howard, where
So
does
when
make sense come into the scientific
When it comes to
method? Show me
you,
that
when
part
it comes
where
to you,
makes sense.
Naturally observed phenomenon. That's the first
Are you guys? Are you guys gonna let Howard get away with that?
What?
Yeah, he said it has to make sense. I'm thinking to myself, how many things in the heliocentric model
He's right.
don't make any fucking
absolutely has
sense?
to make sense. It literally needs to make sense. That is exactly what it needs to do.
No,
He's correct. He doesn't
No,
realize why he sounds so stupid saying it, but he is correct.
There is nothing in the world that
No, Bob. He
makes
took
sense
7
to you.
steps.
yes, everything makes perfect sense.
Nope, sorry. Nothing requires anything to make sense to you. Sorry.
I know. You just it's okay to throw out logic and reason. That's not required for.
having people making sense
Took the
thing
whole
because you want to make
process,
good sense.
summed it up.
There's a
and
lot of
then-
things
problem
people want
is-
to be true because it made sense that aren't true.
There's
Keep
a
telling
problem with
yourself that.
sense and logic. Sense and logic is limited to information. If you don't have all the information, it doesn't matter how much sense you think you're making. It doesn't matter how reasonable you think you're being. It doesn't matter how logical you are. If you lack information, it doesn't matter. It's wrong.
Howard,
Oh,
if I
it
make
does
an equation,
it does matter how logical it is.
Howard, if I make an equation about how dumb that statement just was, would it make sense?
Create the equation and then we can critique it afterwards. How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, there's no reason to run around and demanding that people need to believe in science. Like, science is a method. It's a method that you can verify things for yourself. So to run around and do that means you're just cucking for some authority. That's all you're doing when you do that.
Then verify it yourself for a change.
And you're also confusing the scientific method, which is a real thing.
Point. People will.
You're confusing that with authoritative bullshit.
You mean if I
James, you gotta stop interrupting people, man, when they talk, bro.
Well, everybody interrupts me, man. So let me know when I can talk.
The combo goes pretty well when each person gets, 10, 20 seconds or however long they need. And you pass it around and it works.
I have a question. I have a question real quick. Howard, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure that you've seen in pools or in streams where there are eddies of water, and those waters are swirling around. and the vortex creates a disturbance in the water so that it becomes too obtuse or opaque for the sunlight to get through, and it forms a black. It forms a black. Okay, it forms a black circle on the ground. Have you seen that?
Yeah, where the light's refracting away from that spot, and it leaves a black spot, almost like a shadow on the bottom of the.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, what if up in the atmosphere there are currents that are stable the entire time as the sky is rotating, so that when we have an eclipse, all that is a disturbance in the atmosphere that becomes too opaque for the light to go through, and it forms a shadow on the moon.
Any proof
Does
of
that make sense?
No.
Yeah, see,
any proof?
It does with the degree of saying that the atmosphere is like water, but see that's where I find the disconnect, that the atmosphere, although it is fluid, it is not like water, you know.
How do you know?
Any proof of these? Any proof of these currents? Any proof that they happen during an eclipse?
Now, just think about what I'm saying, right? So let's say that you and I are talking about life, and we see
prove them. That's
that
called science,
happen
when you
in a
actually prove
stream,
shit.
and then we see it happen.
Is a stream?
And
is,
then we see it
is water
happen up in the
denser or less
sky.
dense than sky?
I would say
Did you just say that science proves things?
Hold on.
In
Can you guys not hear me?
Colloquial sense. Shut up.
What is the
Why are you talking over Travis? Let him finish.
Yeah, we could
Hold
follow
on.
that.
I'll try. Listen, I'll just try to make it as quick as possible. My point is that I have something on the ground level science that I can point to suggest something that happens up in the sky. I think that is a valid observation and hypothesis to present.
Great. Now you got to prove it.
I want to understand what the claim is. The claim is that there is some vortex that hides the moon from us.
No, I'm kind of following you, Travis. But what I would expect to see in association with that is where the sun is shining on the ground, and there's just a shadow moving across the ground out of nowhere. Nothing apparently causing the shadow. That's what I would expect to see.
Right. And as
okay, hold on just real quick. Okay, hold on just real quick. Let me respond to that, please. He was talking to me.
Travis, go ahead.
Thank you. He was responding to me, was he not?
I wasn't aware that this wasn't an open forum. Sorry, this isn't an open forum. My fault.
He said the sultry sound of my name. Howard, I would say, why are you saying you would expect to see it if you've never seen it?
Well, if you're saying that that's potentially what's causing an eclipse, then that would be
because we can see the eclipse. So my response would be
to stop others from interrupting, but you interrupt him when he's trying to answer your question. Great job.
It was a crucial point, though, and it was cordial, so leave it alone. The guy didn't say nothing about it. Only you did.
Listen, Cuck. If Howard wants to correct me, let Howard correct me, not you, okay?
Great insult. It's a good look for you. Good job.
Yeah. So just take a seat, twiddle your thumbs, and just wait. So, Howard, I would say the reason why you don't see it is because it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's a good conclusion.
All right.
So you have a false hypothesis.
You've never seen it happen, so why would you say you expect to see it happen?
Right. I mean, so why would you associate that with an eclipse?
Associate what with an eclipse?
Well, isn't that what you said? Something about the eclipse, and we were talking about the shadows on the creek bottom, and
yeah,
because
we can see that the light gets eclipsed by the disturbance in the medium.
No, that's not.
Any proof of these tornadoes in the air that do this?
No, we see a shadow. That's different. Did you try to look from below if the light source is ever hidden? It's maybe dimmer. It's not hidden. There's no black spot there.
Don't these things usually like swirl slightly too? I mean, they're not stable, right?
I don't think that he was presenting this as fact or an actual claim. I think he was using it
What the hell are you talking about?
I think he was using this as an analogy for a specific point that he didn't make yet.
Oh, okay.
Because all it sounded like was he was trying to address what Howard had said about if something makes sense, then we can move forward. And I think that Travis has an incomplete statement, and he should follow up with, it makes sense in the beginning, but as you investigate, it doesn't make sense. I think that's what Travis was trying to do.
Yeah, my only point was I offered something that makes sense. So if that was Howard's stipulation for what makes science, well then my explanation for an eclipse makes sense.
You have a valid hypothesis. Now you need to prove it.
No, that's fine. But I wanted to address it's incomplete still because you have to ignore other effects. So if that's just your hypothesis, I would challenge the hypothesis even before it's investigated and saying what we see with that is the movement of water around that shadow. So we have calm water in which we have no obstruction, no shadow. Then we have this vortex of motion. And relative to the size of what we see, it would be an extreme motion. So no, I would say it doesn't make sense because we don't experience that extreme motion. So we don't even have to investigate. Your hypothesis is challenged with more information.
That's your opinion, dude.
Let me read this real quick. James Mays, shout out James Mays, $20. Brandon, hello to the panel. Jem and the ballers know it's over. Cheers, guys. Cheers, James Mays. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, man. Anyway, I'm curious, Biodual. Do you
what's up, man?
Do you trust the historical record? I think we might have talked about this before, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on, like ancient manuscripts that only have one source and kind of these weird coincidences that have happened like that over the years.
Right.
Do you question it at all?
Yeah, of course I do. There's particular aspects, but it's not. I don't approach it as I'm going to assume it's false or I'm going to assume it's true. I don't approach it that way. It'll be a conglomerate of evidence, and I'd like to see historical facts presented from both sides, especially if we talk about war or some type of conflict. But in general, it's not just this one historian presents this as fact. Therefore, I'm going to spout it from the rooftop and tell everyone. It will require more than one source most of the time. Now, if it's like, let's say the past 100 years, if I don't have any evidence that contradicts it, I have no problem subscribing to it, but I won't have the confidence to present it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. You guys ever listen to Hardcore History? Anybody listen to that show? No?
I've just watched Drunk History. I think I've seen that channel you're talking about, but I think I've scrolled by it.
Oh, you guys should check that out. There's a World War I series on there. It's 20 hours long. It's a guy who narrates it. Him and his friend write the scripts, narrates it. Hardcore History is excellent. Check it out.
Is it actual history or that bullshit mainstream media?
Well, I don't know. I think the guy does his best with the available sources and tells the mainstream story, but you can still get a lot out of it. It's interesting. I don't know what to believe about the past. And from what I've heard about how the chronology was laid out, makes me very skeptical. The fact that there's this 1,000-year dark age and there's characters that might be the same person and were recycled and these oddities, but I'm by no means have I.
Bring it forward. We don't know what to believe. We don't know what to believe about the present. Don't worry about the past. What about the present? Weapons of mass destruction, for example. We all believe that. That was in our own lifetime. We had a war over weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. So, if you can't believe the narrative of the present, how can you possibly not have an enormous amount of skepticism about the narrative that's presented to us about an unprovable past? Like, even right now, we're being lied to about stuff that we find out 10 years later. So I just don't know how anyone can just suck it up and just accept it.
Well, exactly. And right now it's easier for us to understand the motives and what drives the people who are writing the stories that we're told in the media or whatever, because it's our time. We're familiar with the context. But when you're talking about 100 years ago, 200, 500, couple thousand years ago, how can you understand the context in which it's happening when you only have a few documents to look back on?
Right. And with the fact that in schools, like all of us that were brought up in these, schools, it's like, there's just, we have science class, we have history class. It came right along with it, meaning these textbooks that claimed what the history was, and we had to take tests on it. And if we didn't get good grades, we'd fail the test or whatever. So it's like the whole history is sold right alongside with the globe Earth.
Well, here's the thing for me, pertaining to history, I'm right with you guys in questioning the events of the past and the way it's taught to us, even going back to like Christopher Columbus discovering America, and it presented, for Thanksgiving Day and dinner with the Indians and all that. But
that was actually the Mayflower, Howard, not Christopher Columbus, but go ahead.
Well, it all goes back to the same thing. It wasn't.
No, it was about 200 years before Christopher Columbus, but go ahead.
But the thing
I think he's trying to present a specific point, Aaron.
All right, go ahead. Okay, yeah, I'll let him get there. It makes sense.
Yeah, science in our physical world, as we can observe it today, is in today's reality, and that's what I'm talking about. Things making sense, what we can see and observe against the things that we're told and taught, and the way science is presented and physics is taught makes perfect sense to me.
So time travel, time dilation, that all makes perfect sense to you.
Howard, if it makes sense to you, that's fine.
Conclusions of science with actual science. Because science doesn't say anything. Science is a method. It doesn't have lips. It doesn't have a mouth. Can't say nothing.
But Matrix, he said the right words. He said the right words. He said the way physics is taught to him, it makes sense to him. You can't discount the guy for stating his own position.
Right.
However,
just because something makes sense doesn't mean it is necessarily true.
I don't want, and I would not appreciate, the same physics that was taught to you that makes sense being taught to everybody on a compulsory scale, that you have to believe it and pass tests just to get to a higher level of, this certain education that makes sense, right, Howard?
This whole thing of the math works and it all works. No, it doesn't. None of it works. It seems like it was all reverse engineered. Like when you come to look at it, it doesn't work because you can't apply it. You can't apply it in actual reality to anything. But yeah?
Yes, you can.
So the distance to the sun, it works right, in applied science. The size of Venus, it works also in applied science. Go ahead. I'm going to shut up so you can elaborate.
No, you asked the questions. You're saying it doesn't work. It most certainly does. And it's demonstrable.
On paper, Howard, it works
on paper. On paper, it seems like it works. But when you start to question it, and okay, so I'm
there is no verification of it. It's just on paper, Howard.
That's what I'm trying to tell him. On paper, it seems to work. It just doesn't seem applicable in actual reality. There is no way to measure distances to Venus and the size of Venus. These things are not in reality something that you could actually do. But conceptually, you could do it. On paper, you could write it down. Yes, but you can't really do these things.
Yes,
so it seems like there's a lot of question about should we trust stuff that doesn't make sense, and that seems like
there's a lot of things
as a question.
It sounds like you guys are denying the real science. You're either denying the real science, and because you accept the real science, therefore everything that's claimed to be science with those wearing wolves clothing. What is it? Wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
So they have
Is
their white
consensus and sense synonymous?
Yeah,
Is
there's real
consensus
science
and
within the
sense
field
are those
of
two
anatomy.
synonymous?
So let's say this, like Howard, right?
There's also fake.
You like, or you will trust the image of the blue marble from space, right? That picture, we've all seen it, right? And you'll trust every data behind it that says, oh yeah, 1972, whatever it is, 1978, and you'll say, yep, and they'll give you a little bit more data, and you'll be like, yeah, dude, that's okay. Now, in this day and age, Howard, this weird day and age now, we have enough technology to independently, let's just say SpaceX was quasi-independent, which is not, but, you know, let's just say folks could get to the moon, or at least land a rover on the moon. China's doing it. India's doing it. Israel's doing it, or tried. And we could put let's say a camera, a 24-hour camera on the moon. How come we don't? And that would be a little bit better. I'm thinking maybe 1,000 times better than one picture that's 40 years old. If we could actually see, and we could all log into it and zoom in, and I could see myself waving, right? I could see myself waving.
You can't see
That'd be
yourself waving
fucking
from the moon,
cool,
you
man.
fucktard.
Yeah, it'd be all right though. You know, we could see certain
Go,
things
let
that
him
are
go.
actually taking place in real time on this ball that you believe, right?
Oh,
Not
what you'll need to do,
picture you believe, but
if you require that, you'll need to contact NASA and make that
what is the
request.
problem
But-
with that
but
simple
personally-
idea, though? What's the
Personally, I
problem?
think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous.
Why
no
would it be
reason to-
ridiculous, though?
There's no
Wouldn't
reason to
you
take
want it
pictures of
also?
the Earth from the moon.
Wouldn't you want it also, Howard, to prove
No.
me wrong and prove everybody wrong?
I proved you wrong. You proved you wrong by the Himawari. What's wrong with Himawari?
You wave a picture in front of me and say I'm wrong, dude. That's no. I'm not
Yeah,
right.
I mean, the fact that you just said.
Well, the only
I was asking something about making sense because I wanted to ask if that's a good heuristic, and I think it is one. Why would we not apply it to both? Let me finish. Why would we not apply it to both sides? Because I think it is a useful one. It's the best way we can figure it out. Why would we not also apply that heuristic to the other side to go, these lying scientists, these lying authorities, this vast conspiracy that seems to me to require more people perpetrating the conspiracy than are actually being fooled. The confusion with the South Pole, where for every flat earther you've got a different explanation for the South Pole. If we're going to use does it make sense as a heuristic, I would say those things also don't make sense.
The science.
Well, let's go there and figure it out. Oh wait, you can't.
Yes, you can. You can go there and figure it out.
But the fact that Howard, listen,
when you're inside a cult, doesn't everything they say make sense? Isn't it also you're outside of the
recognize
cult
that
you
we can't
realize
go
that
there to check
it
it
doesn't make
ourselves?
sense?
We could check it ourselves.
hold on,
we
just
can't.
real quick. I want to try to go back.
You're
Howard, when
mocked,
you
ridiculed,
responded,
and shamed.
Howard, when you responded to Aaron after he said about putting the camera on the moon, what did you say? You thought what?
I think it's ridiculous for that to be a request.
Okay, listen. That response by you right now, to me, either you're a shill or you're lying out your ass, because that makes no sense for a person like
very
you.
disingenuous.
Hold on.
Extremely disingenuous.
Hold on.
Extremely disingenuous.
Let him
What
finish.
the fuck, man? All I'm saying is, disingenuous is a less negative way to say that, but that's for someone like you who believes in science and who loves the ball. For you to say that makes no sense or that's a waste of time, that is completely ridiculous.
I do not love the ball. That's another.
You
ridiculous.
do.
There's
You do.
no reason to put.
What have
will
you
a camera
done?
on the
What
moon
have
do,
you done,
Travis? What the fuck will a camera on the moon do?
falsify any claim that?
What would be the
the
point
Earth
of a
is globe? We've already discussed that. I'm not talking.
No, you're talking to the room. What
Hold
will
on,
a camera
Howard.
on the
Hold
moon
on.
do,
Hold on,
Travis?
Howard.
It
have
would
you-
be.
hold-
It
hold
would
on.
be more
Travis.
evidence.
What would a camera
great.
on the
Hold
moon
on,
do?
Howard.
Please tell me.
What have you done to falsify the globe?
And before you
fallen-
answer that, Howard, the reason why I think you might like that question, and you just totally said it's ridiculous, is because I think you like technology and the evolution of the human, where maybe we could actually do that, right? But you just said that would be ridiculous. I mean, outright just no.
It's unreasonable. That would be a better word.
it is unreasonable because you can't put a camera on the moon and see people on Earth.
Can you see the Earth?
Listen, don't miss the point. Right? Yeah. I let Aaron slide with seeing himself wave. Okay, you're not going to see that.
We already have pictures of the Earth.
The point was
taking every 10
the
minutes, you
amazing
guys
quality
reject
that we
What would
have
the
when you
camera
get
on
the
the moon
P900 to zoom in on the moon.
We've got a lot better than that.
Okay, whatever.
Cameras.
Small.
And by the way, Phil, raise your hand, Phil.
250 mil.
Raise your hand, Phil, and we'll call on you, okay? Anyway, Howard, going back to you, what have you done? If you don't love the ball, what have you done to falsify any claim that we would disagree with?
The observations that I see every day do not comport to a flat Earth.
Don't make sense, Travis.
Be more specific. How have you tested, not observed, how have you gone out and repeatedly made observations and evaluations and criticisms of?
Yeah, I've knocked out.
I have a simple request. Whether you see curving your
Why can I not have a conversation with Howard? It's a simple, just one-on-one real quick.
I just mentioned Earth curve 2 days ago, Travis.
My point is, Howard, I don't think that you have tried to falsify the globe. I don't. You just look at observations and you say, "Yeah, the way that I understand it makes more sense." But how have you tried to understand it from the opposite way, right? So even though I've made observations with my P900 over the past 3 years, I've actually come up with at least 2 completely novel hypotheses to present that I think have scientific validity that have nothing to do with being flat Earth, but has everything to do with the nature of mirages and refraction. And that just simply comes from, my spending 3 years out there looking at shit.
And waving your hands and inventing the Aether band.
Yeah,
so it's going to sound like I'm off
curious
topic.
about if that's a good method.
Well, here is a simple brain exercise that we can all do. You stand out in your yard and you point at sunrise, and you point at the sun at noon, and you point at it at sunset. Now, imagine where the sun is at midnight and point at it and see what that makes sense.
Yeah, you point in the other direction. You point above the ground.
Howard, the science you believe in, let's just say, would be like Eratosthenes, who took 1 or 2 measurements. I mean, the story says 1 measurement of a shadow with a couple sticks in a well. And Travis is telling you he's been 3 years out there. Not only Travis, thousands of other folks have done observations that actually don't show what you think it says, right?
Travis is trying to invent shit to make up.
Okay, but that's not good.
It is good, actually. He knows that the Earth is round. He has to try to make up some
wrong with Travis inventing things?
To explain
What's
stuff
wrong
that
with
can be
that?
easily explained with Earth curve.
So you have a
Nobody told Einstein that when he invented his bullshit.
Okay, so you have a problem with the word ether band? Is that
but
it?
Einstein's been proven. Travis is not.
You actually have a problem with the word ether band. That's it.
Einstein
That's your
has
problem.
with this whole idea. Some magical ether.
Okay. Well, that means you have a problem. Okay.
Because no, I don't have a problem. You have to prove it.
Totally fine.
You just can't make up something and say, "Oh, this is true because I think it's true." You actually have to prove it, and he hasn't done that.
Well, somebody needs to check with Beyonce because she made Bootylicious true. Right? So there's something wrong with your logic.
Over 1,000 days of observations, catching this word. I dare not say it. You might mute me. It starts with an E, ends with an N.
Actually, it starts with an A.
Cool. I'm sorry. But hey, listen, guys. Over 1,000 days doing this, and you're saying he just made up a word. He just made up this word on the very first day.
He made up his word. He made up his observations.
You're digging your own.
Are easily explained by Earth curve, but no Earth curve has to be false. So I'm going to just make up some shit. I'm going to call it Aether band.
Lale, you're digging your own hole.
Hey, Aaron, let me ask you a question. Sure. Going back to my observation of the sun. Where would you point at the sun at midnight? Where do you think the sun should be?
Oh, that's a great question.
It's on the other side of the
It's on the other side of Polaris. You'd be pointing at Polaris.
Hold on. I will say, I will say,
I gotta get out of here. This is getting
Howard, if Leo would, penis Leo would, because I get those two confused. I know I get you confused. But same character though. But Howard, if I had to say, I would say it's over there. Where would you say it is? Would you say it's under your feet? Would you point under your feet?
On a flat Earth, I would point due north.
Where would you say it is?
But that would not make sense to those other 3 points that I just made.
Really nice.
Okay, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Hold on. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we covered about the sun and light and refraction and shapes.
There are some anomalies.
Okay. Now, Howard, where would you point?
I would point straight down at the ground.
Well,
I don't know what
that's all right, man. Don't laugh at it like it's
there you go.
like we're in a cult.
That is funny
Don't
though.
laugh at it.
Straight down. That's where the sun.
No, look.
Well, do you
He's got a
understand
good
the
point.
reasoning? Could you face
Yeah.
one? Why don't you describe the reasoning that you think Left Lane is using to get there? Because it seems like a really, really good, simple test, and then you were laughing at it. If you find it funny, maybe explain what you think his side is and why you find that funny.
Well, can you explain why would you point down to your feet if you've never seen it, the sun below your eye level?
Well, the point of
I've seen the sun below
There's no reason to laugh.
Oh, you haven't seen the sun below your eye level?
Yes.
My shoes would be on fire, man. My shoes.
The point of his test is to say when we do see the sun, there is a pattern of your arm movement. Your arm movement is showing a particular pattern. So if we extrapolate that pattern, what we see is on a flat Earth with Aaron's description is that you're not following that pattern of the sun anymore on a flat Earth. But if you follow that pattern, that's where you end up when you extrapolate, is pointing down.
Well, this
Foundation of your pattern.
Probably.
Hold on. You got to ask him this. What's your foundation of the pattern?
Every day
You said
for
if you're
12 hours.
moving. You said if you're moving your arm.
Left Lane speak.
If you're moving your arm, what's the foundation?
Don't ask a
of you
question if you're going to
moving your
explain it.
arm? Well, I wanted to clarify.
I just wanted to jump in real quick. I just wanted to
hold on. I
say
was clarifying the question, guys. Please give me that.
Oh my gosh.
If you're moving your arm,
We've got the
right,
question. You're just not
what
letting
is
the person answer, you doofus.
What is the foundation of you moving your
We've
arm?
heard you say it 4 times.
Here's the foundation.
Jesus.
Here's the
How do you
foundation.
know you're moving it?
James,
Hang
here's the
on, let me
foundation.
ask
Here's
you
the
the
foundation.
15th time, and then it'll make a bit more sense. Just explain it, Left Lane.
All right, so
getting ready to
all right,
blow
give me
you
10
away
seconds
here.
here. So this particular show might not have enough time and energy to go into all of this, but I just posted it really quickly. I mean, Howard, what you were describing, this has been very, very well mapped since the dawn of time. And what I just posted is a geocentric chart that many astrologers use. The ephemeris is where this information comes from, which is the actual book. It's just a book that shows the degree position. So in this simple chart, you could imagine putting an AE map under that, which I actually have some of those that graphically. So you can put an AE map under that. So the North Pole is at the center. And the rising, you have the rising on the left, the descending on the right. So that's what you're seeing, rising and descending. The arrow up at the top is where the sun is at high noon, and then 180 degrees opposite from that. So like I said, I can't really go into I'm not sure that this, chat would involve the amount of time to go into all of it. But what you're describing, pointing your finger, as you were saying, at the sun, works perfectly on this. You can imagine your finger is the arrow at the top, which is where the sun is at high noon. And this is a perfect clockwork. So as the zodiac, as the constellations, as the wandering stars all move, it's all geocentric. It's been geocentric since the beginning of time. Astrologers and astronomers have used geocentric charts like this one since the beginning of time in terms of mapping the sun around the face of the earth. It works perfectly on a level stationary earth with an AE type map, and the globe is not required for that at all.
So where do you think the sun is at midnight?
It's over the part of the earth that
it absolutely does not work.
Well, Howard, I have friends. I have friends in Alaska. Howard, I have friends in Alaska, and the sun is right over there at midnight. It's right over there.
That tells me not one thing, Aaron. That doesn't say.
But it's true though. But it's right over there.
If you're on the AE map,
it's a pretty simple observation, and Geo, yours just agree. What you presented just seemed to agree with what I think Howard or Left Lane was saying, which is when you point at it in the morning, and you can point at it at multiple points throughout the day, but then midday and then as at sunset, you get this perfect hemisphere. So what you'd expect is the same thing you were saying just then with that chart you've posted, which is nighttime is 180 degrees the opposite direction. Whereas what the proposed thing for the flat Earth map, or at least the moon, the sun and moon that we've all seen, is that it does this arc, this perfect half circle arc, and then suddenly bends and disappears and goes off in a different direction. Like, we know what something looks like when it's doing a circle.
You mean this
right?
refracted arc, right? This refracted arc, because the sun's apparently...
That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense. So based on that heuristic before, I'm going to reject that simply because it seems really silly.
Lighting, like I said, I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know that we have enough time to go into all
if you're
of it.
gonna reject things just based on being silly to you, then we can dismiss your whole.
Is the sun actually
sure? So it might not be a good method, right?
That's silly, dude.
Remember
you're pointing at a ball of light in the sky.
That chart that I posted shows exactly what you're referring to. On the left, in the 9 o'clock position, that's the rising. So that's where everything's rising over the horizon. So you see a little bit under that, you see the little circle with the dot. That's the sun. So if I shared my screen, I could open up the software and you can click minute by minute, day by day. So that sun, it will rise. It will come over that. That's exactly when it's going to rise. And then it will do that half hemisphere thing like you're talking about, because that's the whole upper half of the chart, which is daytime. So the sun will be at high noon when it's, up at the 12 noon position. And then when it's setting, it's going to be in the 3 o'clock position. I'm just using the 369 just to describe the...
And Geo, let's go like this real quick. Let's say there's a guy 3,000 miles away from me. As the sun leaves my finger pointing over towards, let's say the sunset or the horizon or whatever, he's pointing straight up, right?
Right, so it's just circling you. All you have to do is imagine you're on a flat level surface, the sun is above you, and it's just circling a massive Earth. So you could... That's what sundials do. Sundials show this exact mapping. Sundials are a flat geocentric plate with a stick on it. That's called the gnomon, which is the little metal thing. And that's recreating the exact thing that Howard's talking about. It works perfect on a geocentric level Earth, and it has since the dawn of time.
That's why they have to burn. They have to burn history books to try to pretend none of this stuff was explained.
Yeah, perfect. Can I address James's question?
Straight up burning all the history books to pretend like everyone else had no explanation for this.
Most of the ancient libraries.
Great addition. I'm going to answer James's
just burning the books, and then they'll go back and say history is proven. Nixon went to the moon.
Most of the ancient libraries, except for Rome, right? Except for what do you call that? What's in Rome? The Vatican, right? That's the only one that hasn't been burned yet. But you've got Alexandria, Library of Congress, London. You've got Notre Dame was burned. Everything was burned. Right.
So I'm going to answer James's question because I thought it was a fine question to ask to be scientifically honest. So James, you asked about the foundation for this kind of test. And what I would say is the foundation exists every single day, repetitively, almost at the same times. We know it changes throughout the year, blah, blah, blah. But every single day you could perform this test accurately. And all it is pattern seeking. If your pattern is when you point at sunrise, you're pointing horizontally across the ground. And then as at noon, it's up in the sky. You have to raise your arm upwards to point at it again. And now, with your other arm, you have to put it down horizontally at sunset. So the pattern is horizontal, vertical, horizontal. If you extrapolate and continue at midnight, the opposite of noon, it only follows logically that you'll be pointing vertically but down.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, it follows that if your initial site was at the horizon, all you have.
Let's let James speak.
Right. I'll be real quick too.
Up
so
and away.
It's a great point that you made.
Up and away.
But my point on that was a sphere would be symmetrical. You wouldn't have horizontal.
Up,
away. Be symmetrical in all directions.
Well, I'm glad you
and the
brought that
higher and the further you rise in elevation, the more symmetry or symmetric would be resolved. You would see
that's a separate conversation.
The horizon wouldn't keep. Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is like, damn it, man.
You're trying to say this, James. Every single house.
As you elevate from the chessboard, you see more and more squares.
Off in the
But you'll
distance.
still, even at a certain elevation, you'll still get to a point where you cannot resolve any more squares.
Okay, right, I mean, BioJoel, everything does that due to perspective. You can see an airplane that's off in the distance that you can see will rise up, and you can point your finger and it'll be above you.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up, James, because I've looked down at a sunset before. Can you explain that one to me?
Wow.
You've never. How did you determine? Because the horizon is apparent.
My angle or my angle.
Hold on. Let me finish the question. Don't answer it before I finish it.
Let him give more detail.
The horizon
before we answer.
The horizon is an apparent location. So when you say that you look, when you say that you looked down, where was you? Let's say sea level wise.
I was half a mile above sea level, looking down at the sunset over the ocean.
Yeah, you're looking at what you
as you elevate, the sun will appear again, right?
He was at sea level.
No, I wasn't at sea level.
Well, hold on.
Half a mile above sea level, right? Meaning that if I have to look down at
what
a
I'm
sunset,
saying because I'm agreeing with you.
Yes.
I'm agreeing with you. Hold on. You're saying that
I thought for
as
sure
you rise in elevation, you'll see the sun appear again.
That's not what I'm saying.
Go down over the horizon. And as you rise, it'll appear again.
Yeah, so why do I have to look down? Angle my
I could picture that. Hold on, let me finish. I could picture that happening on a sphere.
This doesn't sound like a question.
James, you gotta let him respond.
Well, I'm getting there.
I'm
getting there. Please,
try to say something concise and pass the mic because it seems like
I am. You guys keep interrupting me, and it makes it hard to be concise. So most of the time,
he was just looking over there.
Ah, man.
Most
of the time, I start off, it seems like it's not on topic.
James,
but it concludes with being on topic. So if you could let me conclude, it'll be on topic.
Well, do it quickly.
What you're trying to say, what you're trying to say is
30 seconds. Go.
You're in the skyscraper at the bottom floor. You see the sun go down below the horizon.
Anyways,
and as you rise in the skyscraper, you see the sun appear again.
This has nothing to do with what I was talking about.
That would happen on a flat Earth, and the only way it would happen on a sphere is if the elevation you rose.
This isn't what I was talking about, so you're getting off the topic.
Yes, it is on the topic.
No, it's not. This has nothing to do with why I was able to look down at a sunset.
I was talking about the horizon.
No, I wasn't. I was talking about being able to look down
at the sun.
Yes,
at the horizon.
Okay, okay. If the thing's above me,
you was talking about the horizon.
Dipshit.
Let me even listen to me, dude. You didn't even
listen.
Honestly, James, you're the one who sounds like they're not listening.
What did I say?
What did I say?
You said something that completely was what I was trying to say.
James, flat earthers and globers alike repeatedly give you the feedback that you don't listen to people and you don't make concise points and you keep rejecting that feedback. It's useful for you. Listen to it.
Like I was trying to say was, I looked down at a sunset, which is completely repeatable. You can go up into the mountains of Cabo.
Where do you look down at a sunset at? Where does the sun set at?
Anywhere high up that overlooks water.
Does the sun set at the horizon?
No, it sets over the water.
So it don't set at the horizon.
No.
So if I live in an area, hold on. If I live in an area that there's no water around me, I never see the sunset.
It doesn't. The sun doesn't set over the horizon. He just said that.
Yeah, it does.
So the horizon, right? Isn't that like your midline?
No, that's not what he said.
Yeah,
Hold on, you guys.
The horizon.
He said that it only sets over the water.
Shut the fuck up for a minute, James? Jesus,
you got him in the corner. James, you got him in the corner, and you're bringing him out to the center of the ring again. Why?
No. So again, right? Because the whole idea of the horizon, according to you guys, is just the midline of your sight, where you argue that things below you will rise up to your center of view, and the things above you will go shrink down to the center of your view, right? But what happens when you have a half a mile or a mile worth of air below you now? Is that
No,
here
you
also
hold on a
raised to your
second.
horizon?
Better glove tap.
You're
Glove
totally
tap.
taking perspective out of the
Right.
equation.
So answer me how I could look down at the sunset if the sun is supposedly always above us.
You can't look down at the sunset.
Yes, you can.
never will.
Yes,
No,
I
you
did.
won't.
Yes, I did.
Left blow.
What was your tool of measurement?
I can give you an explanation.
What
camera.
was your tool
My
of
camera.
measurement?
Uppercut.
Okay.
camera.
And where did you look down to?
I
Left-
looked down
left
at the water
flame.
where the
Where'd you
sunset was
look?
overlooking.
So I'm in an area
Right
that
hand
all everything around me is, hold on, to give you a picture of where I'm at. Everything around me is mountains. I don't see any water, but I still see the sunset and the horizon. You're claiming
double
that it
jabbing
only
right
happens
now.
over water.
Here we go.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Body
I'm
shot.
literally
That's
just
exactly what
I
you
am
said.
literally just
Oh,
saying
no.
how could I possibly
Rewind
look
it.
down?
That's exactly what.
Yeah, I will rephrase because obviously you don't listen, right? So
We
I'll
have a
rephrase for you.
hugging. We have a hugging. Now a push off. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You
So
never look down to
if
the
the sun
horizon.
if the sun is constantly above us on this flat fucking pizza, how could I possibly look down at a sunset in Cabo? How could I possibly have to be able to
3
look
minute
down
timer.
at the sun?
All right.
What was your
Have you ever
altitude?
have you ever been on the beach?
Brandon,
Have you ever been on the beach?
Yes.
there?
Yes, I have.
Everybody eat pizza. Take a break. Get some
Okay,
water.
he's answering my question. Let me talk to him. He said that he's been on the beach.
Mhm.
When you're standing at the beach,
Eating
it
pizza.
appears like the horizon of the water is at your eye level,
Mhm.
even though all that water is still under your feet.
James is wrapping up right now. Right hook just wrapping up. Ready to
So
go.
when you're standing at the beach, it appears like the water line is at your eye level,
Jab.
even though all that water is still
Jab.
under your feet.
Jab.
You're excluding that perspective from your
No, I'm
equation.
not. No, I'm not.
Yeah,
So
you
again,
are.
I am
You
fully
just made a prime
incorporated.
example. Go
So
ahead.
okay,
Go
no,
ahead.
so okay, so your claim is that if I were to angle my camera at 0 degrees on its Y, right, meaning I'm not angling it up or down, it is looking straight ahead, right, parallel to the ground, right, I would be looking at water, right?
Hugging. Here we go. Ref
Like
calls it.
water,
Yeah,
water,
if you're
water would be
closer-
taking up.
if you-
And we're
Break 'em up,
talking about
break
if
'em
you're
up,
talking about
break
if
'em
I
up.
am up in the if I'm up
Break
in the
'em up.
mountains of
Break 'em
of
up.
Cabo, overlooking the water, right? If I were to sit there, angle my camera out at 0 degrees, I would see water taking up half the shot, right?
Yes. Now let me hold on.
No, hold on, because
I'll-
that's not the case,
you-
right?
you made-
when
you
you
made a
angle
good
your,
point,
when you
and I can't-
angle your camera at 0, guess what you're not gonna see? You're not gonna see the sunset at your midline. You have to angle your camera down 1.2 degrees to see the fucking sun, you idiot.
Okay, so when you
meaning
angle,
that the sun,
hold
meaning
on.
that the
Good
sun is
point.
below you.
So good point, right? You have to angle your camera what? 1.2
Downward.
degrees?
Yeah, 1.2
How do you
degrees
get those
downward.
1.2 degrees?
With
How do
the
you
ang-
get the 1.2 degrees?
The
What's
beautiful
your
thing about
foundation?
expensive cameras is that they
What's
measure
your
the angles for
foundation
you.
of the 1.2
camera,
degrees?
the camera protractor on there, or the little angle reader that it has on there.
So flat. Protractor. Flat and then curved. Hemisphere.
What?
Your foundation is flat to get the 1.2 degrees.
Yes,
your
it
foundation
automatically
on that
levels itself out, right? Because it's a nice expensive camera.
No, it don't automatically. You said that you got 1.2 degrees. Go ahead and
Yes,
remind
it
me
levels
what you
itself
said. Go
out.
ahead.
It levels itself out, and then you can angle it yourself to look down at wherever you want to, and it'll show you the angle of incline or
How did you
decline.
get 1.2 degrees?
Because it shows on there. Listen, please, for the love of Allah.
What's the foundation of that?
What do you mean? What's the foundation of that?
Well, to get 45 degrees, to get 90 degrees, what's the foundation?
Did I not just fucking say it was parallel to the ground, or do you just have issues listening?
The camera, it sounds
Yeah,
to
it's
me
a
like the
level
camera
line.
can measure level and tell
It's
you
a flat
what
horizontal line to get 1.2 degrees. Not a
What?
curved surface.
Holy shit, you're an actual
James,
ape.
I think you're missing the point
What are you
here.
guys talking about? The only
and
way to
I'd
get a
like to-
45
He's
or a 90
He's got to be
degree
deliberately
is
missing
with
the
two
point.
straight lines.
I think
Okay,
he's
James.
deliberately missing the point.
No,
But
you
you're
can
fine.
only get 1.2 degrees with the
Let's go a different
horizontal
direction.
foundation.
Let's go a different direction.
You can have a parallel on any point of a sphere.
He's right. You guys always pretend that you're standing on a flat, level ground when you do this shit.
And
you guys always do that.
Level, yes. Yeah, you've got to measure off level. That makes sense. I don't think that saying that there's level on a...
if I am
you always pretend that's why there's 180 degrees.
Yeah, so hold on, time out. If I am standing on top of a big old inflatable ball, right? And I'm standing straight up, right? What is my angle in comparison to the ball? To my reference point? 90 degrees, right?
I don't really understand the question, I gotta be honest.
Okay.
90 degrees, right? And if I point out straight, what is that now referenced as?
0.
Either 0 or 180 in reference to the ball and my location.
Okay, what's your point?
He is talking about, how do you find angles on a sphere, right? As if, I guess he just never fucking went to 10th grade math.
You can test this in an even simpler way, and it is just when you're near the water and you watch the sunset, sit down.
You cannot get wide angles on a sphere.
Yeah, you can.
And it's impossible to get
right
no,
it's not.
angles.
Did you hear someone talking? Someone's talking.
It is impossible.
Well,
A
I heard
perfect
somebody
sphere has to
fucking
start
mocking me.
angling down immediately for it to be a perfect sphere.
No, a sphere is symmetrical
Which
in all
means
directions.
it can't have a 90-degree angle.
But everyone's missing the point.
You literally cannot.
In comparison to where your reference frame is, right? You put
No, it doesn't matter. Listen,
you
a
have
perfect
1 point
sphere
on that
literally
ball.
has to start declining immediately for it to be a perfect sphere. You cannot get a 90-degree angle from it.
Holy shit. I guess you're not understanding what I'm trying to say when I bring up 90 degrees, right? If I am on any point of the sphere, right?
Okay,
any point from its center, right? Any point from its center. Do you understand that?
Then you're vertical.
It's not measured
the word you're saying. The point
you are
is
vertical, right? You are standing
Point
straight up.
measured from
So
its
what is 90 degrees to that point?
None. If you're on a sphere, there is no 90 degrees.
I am done arguing.
Elevation is not measured from the center of the earth.
Can I try to...
Elevation is not
So
measured.
again, I'm going to ask you one more
listen to
time,
this
James.
bias
How can I possibly
Measured
look
from sea
down?
level.
A keyword there is down at the sun if the sun is supposedly 3,600 miles above us.
So you're saying that if you had a long counter, you was at one end of the counter, and somebody placed the coin.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up because I have a picture of me doing
Hold on.
this.
Let's just say it was a 30-foot counter.
Oh, I got a 12-foot
Right.
counter. Will that be enough?
You're saying that because you can't see the coin at
I
the
can
other
100%
end.
see the coin.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can.
It's
I got
not
a picture
about
of it.
not seeing it. It's not about
you
not
can't.
seeing it, James. It's the angle at which you are looking at it. If you look at the
Yeah,
chat,
and
I
as you elevate from it, the more and more it becomes.
Okay, you know what? Fuck it. I thought you were an adult.
observable.
I legitimately thought you were an adult, and I
You made a
can't believe that
mistake
you're
with
allowed
that.
to do this.
Let
I know
me
that's
in here
my
for a
mistake.
minute.
I'm
Let me in here for a minute.
Well,
Biodual.
fuck it. Yeah.
You guys are ignoring me, man. You're
Yeah,
I've got a
so
picture in the
I'm-
chat,
No,
and
just
I'm
hold
trying
on,
to-
James.
I'm trying to
Just
explain it.
hold on, James. Please. Okay. So you're
I'm-
saying that
I'm
you're
so-
looking down at it. What degree is it? You're saying 1.2 degrees?
Yeah, 1.2 degrees if I remember correctly. I think it was a little bit less. It's been a little while. All I know is that you had to angle your camera downwards. You can even see it with the naked eye as to how you could see downwards, and you can see the shadows being cast from the surrounding mountains up onto the clouds, which is only possible if the sun was below the mountain range.
I don't think it's only possible.
let me-
if the sun
let
is
me
below the
try to
mountain range, 'cause
redeem
we already
myself
say
here
even
with
in
the,
your model. Hold on, James. Fuck, man. We even say in your model. In your model, you say that we're looking at the apparent sun at the apparent horizon, right? So you don't really know exactly where the sun is. And in our model, we think something is going on optically that means that we can't rely on the geometry that we're seeing. So yeah, it looks like the sun goes down into the ground. Is it really going down in the ground? No, that's just how it looks optically.
Okay, so
I've been trying to explain it. I've been trying to explain this for like half an hour already.
I get that.
To explain this for like half an hour. Let me try to explain it. You guys already asked, how is it that we're seeing the sun go down, right? Let me give you at least a pseudo explanation on the flat earth, right? if you envision a long hallway, right? You're in the center of the hallway. You see how everything proceeds to go up. Well, you said you was on a high mountain. You were most likely more than halfway point from the bottom to whatever the hell the ceiling is, right? And that way, you see how perspective makes things look up. Since you were higher than the center point, it makes things look down. So it's pretty much like reverse perspective. That's what's going on. That's why you see.
Well, I think he's nailed it.
That's exactly what's going on.
That's missing my point, right? The lights are never going to. Hey, no, you hold on, dude. You're fucking running around here like a fucking rabbit squirrel.
James,
I don't care. Yo,
James, just let other people take this one for now.
Yeah. So again, right? So in the picture of that long hallway somebody posted, if you have your camera level, are those lights going to be below the halfway point on its spectrum?
Yes.
It can be. The answer
If
is
you move the camera, hold on. He asked me the question. It depends on how you move the camera, right? In this example, hold on. In this example, you want to take the camera more than halfway point from the center, and that's hypothetically where you were when you was on the mountain. It was more than halfway point, right? On a flat Earth, it would seem like the sun is going down because it's like a reverse perspective cone kind of thing.
Okay,
that's the problem. It's a pseudo explanation, and I can't prove it. But I'm trying to give you some sort of explanation because you keep asking the question. I'm giving you certain visual cues so you can figure it out.
So again, if you were to raise the camera in the hallway, guess what's always still going to be above the camera? The lights, right? So why is it that when you go and take your camera out there to Cabo up in the mountains, you can look down at the sunset, meaning that the sun is below your field of vision?
Remember, in the long hallway, hold on, James. In the long hallway, we have the floor. You
guys are fucking kicking him on
we have the ceiling, right? Right on the flat Earth, we don't know what the ceiling is. So as far as we're concerned, well, the same thing. As flat as the floor is, the ceiling is the same flat. And since you're more than above the center waypoint, your vision is causing it to make it seem like it's going down. But it's strictly a visual thing. It isn't physically happening. See, hypothetically speaking, of course.
So, hey,
hold on. Please let me say something. I brought the topic up. If you're standing on the basketball court, you're standing underneath the hoop at one end. Matter of fact, you're behind the hoop a little because you're standing out of bounds. So you're underneath the hoop, but you're out of bounds behind it, right? You'll see every line that's painted all the way across the other side of the court. Every line that's painted, you'll see. The three-point line, the half-court line. Now, if you lower your eyeballs to the tips of your toes, you will not see every line. According to Globers, those lines went over a curve.
Will those lines ever appear to be above your line of sight?
Yeah,
James?
so I'm glad you brought that up, James, because I
posted
a picture I took of my 12-foot counter along with 2 extra feet with a dime at the very end. And even though the coin, like it was set up perfectly on the midline, you can still see the entirety of the dime. So why is the dime here?
Well, hold on. You're saying that when you zoom in, with the camera, this no longer applies.
I didn't zoom in at all.
Listen to me. Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
You know what?
Okay, so we've seen lots of different optical tests like that. We've seen ones where the dime disappears. We've seen one where it's on the distance further, where they're stacked up.
Without zooming in.
Lots of different.
Here's the thing.
Ones.
Yeah. So no, I didn't zoom in. You can clearly still see the counter.
It doesn't matter. You can do it. You can set it up in many different ways.
I hear this said a lot that perspective makes the sun appear to go down. Why does it not make the ground appear to go up if that's the case?
It does sometimes.
It does.
Yeah, so
it does. It does. That's literally what I was trying to describe the effect that he was seeing, right? No. And you just said that hold on, Chief. You just said that you just did the little quarter trick, right? Try reversing that. Try looking at that and flipping the image so you can envision what I'm trying to tell you, right? Because when you flip the image, the floor is going to become the ceiling, and everything is going to perceive to go down. right?
Okay.
That's exactly what's going on with the sun. That's what you're saying. Now, what was happening? That's what I'm trying to explain.
Okay, I got a question for you. Am I ever going to see the floor above the midline?
It never crosses.
Am I
No,
going to see
you
the?
know you won't.
Okay, cool. So am I ever going to see the sun below the midline?
No, you won't.
Okay, then you're wrong there because it happened. All right, that's what I'm trying to get
I'm not
at.
wrong. I'm just on your side.
No. What I'm saying is the sun does go below your midline, especially when you go out there to the mountains and overlook the water, right? A nice ocean.
Yeah, but perspective will not cause that.
I know perspective doesn't
So
cause
says
that.
you guys. So says you guys. Well, a lot of things can cause that. When you're looking out there at the sun, you're looking at something that, if we're on a flat plane, is approximately 6,000 miles away. And you've got between you oceans, mountains, land. You've got 20, 30 degree Fahrenheit temperature differences. You've got a lot of stuff going on at the position of the sun. You've got a lot of energy being released into the atmosphere at that position, and your position is diminishing release. So all of that, in my opinion, could combine to cause optical effects that will make it appear as if the sun goes below the apparent horizon.
Or we're on a
Nope.
Or we're on
we're
a
just on a
giant
ball.
floating, spinning, careening, tilting ball traveling through endless nothingness that's expanding and came from a pinpoint. Yeah.
Mirroring can actually make your horizon look lower than your eye line. The mirroring effect.
Can I make two specific points? So the first one,
if you're doing visual things, it's just invalid what you're saying.
Beautiful. So I posted two
over the last hour, they've got you talking about the sun. It has
It was
nothing to do with the globe whatsoever. And you could easily open up any history book and figure this shit out. Their goal is to distract. Talk
Great
about
addition.
everything other than the Earth as their only proof of the Earth.
Okay,
It's the same thing Gimp Panda did. He wanted to talk about history.
2 points about the Earth right now.
And then when you
I'm
pinned him down, he ran and took all his sycophantic cult members with him.
That's not true. That's not true, Crit. At all. At all. Jim came into a topic that was already open.
Yeah, Gio brought it up, I think.
So there's two specific points that I want to make, and the most recent one is what you brought up, Brandon, as far as its distance of 6,000 miles, and what I have in the chat is essentially the math of what we would expect to see about.
Yeah, you don't know math.
Yeah, perfect. Great addition again.
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. So
hold on,
Gordon,
can we just get Biodual
great
20, 30
interruption.
seconds? Just let him say what he
it's the
wants.
same bullshit. He puts
Who cares?
every day.
Let him speak.
Can I talk to Howard real quick?
No, you can't. Let Biodual finish his 2 fucking points he has to get out.
I have a better example, Brandon.
No, let him fucking do it, Aaron.
Howard's the one talking about pointing fingers, not me. Right?
I've been waiting patiently and letting people finish. I'm gonna make this quick. I'm not James.
And then you can go, Aaron.
The first point is, if we take this 6,000 miles, I gave it 6,200, so it's even better for your argument, and then we do the minimum that the sun could be 3,000 miles, we would expect it to be 25 degrees above the horizon. If we want to expand, that's fine. The second point, very quickly, is the second picture in which this plane is measurably straight and level by like 1/10 of a degree off, but that's fine. Doesn't change the argument. But what we see in this picture is the horizon measurably below this eye level at altitude, as well as the sun being below the horizon. Those are my only arguments. If you want to expand, but that's it.
Can I go next? Right quick.
Are you going to address this point? Or
are you going to respond to this?
I'm going to address Howard's point of pointing fingers. Remember when we first started this argument, it's like, Aaron, which way would you point your finger, right? So Howard, are you there, Howard?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool.
Damn, Aaron, you're just going to bring the conversation all the way back?
Real quick, Matrix.
Half an hour?
Real quick. So, Howard, we're in a long hallway. Let's say it's a mile long, right? And the ceiling is not 8 foot tall. Let's just say it's 100 foot tall, right? And there's light bulbs every 8 foot all the way down this fucking hallway, right? We're in the center of this hallway. We're in the very center. You point your finger to where you see the first light, to the right, or let's just say on one end. You point your finger. Where would you point?
I would point to the right.
Cool. Now point to the light directly above you.
straight overhead.
Cool, cool, cool. Now point where you don't see any light anymore, or the light goes off in the distance. Which way would you point?
I'd point to the spot that I last saw the light.
To the left. Yeah, pretty much, right? But you would never point under your feet, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't match the observation that we're talking about.
That is an observation, Howard.
No, so we had no. So the thing is, Face, is that we have observations of the sun being below people's line of sight.
So what?
One thing I'll mention about that,
you guys act like that is proof of something. It's not. So what? It's under the line of sight. We agree. We've seen those observations.
Well, I'll mention this. In terms of the horizon, I would say that there's two main types of horizons. One of them is when you have like mountains or some landmass that's creating a horizon earlier than it would otherwise, meaning if the mountains weren't there, you'd be able to see further. The other type would be like a true optical extinction horizon. So let's say you're over the ocean, it's totally open ocean, then yes, that would be what I would call sort of just a completely open, optical extinction horizon. So at that point, you're going to see the sun setting due to optical extinction. Of course, that optical extinction is going to have to do with the state of the ether, the environment, the magnification, the layers of everything that's going on. Whereas if you have mountains creating an artificial, you can see the sunset behind the mountains, but if you remove the mountains, you would be able to, see the sunset for longer. So those two things are important to delineate when you're talking about what, where you're looking to see a particular, sunset.
So Howard, how come you wouldn't point under your feet when we did the exact same example you asked me about, watching light from the right come over my head to the left, and you said you point under your feet?
Aaron, because the lights aren't moving across the ceiling and then under your feet, bro.
Oh, dang it. You mean I'm not moving under the light? That's right.
Yeah. So the funny thing about that is when you're at the equator during their during their solar noons and whatnot, it travels directly from one side to the other one. It doesn't create a circular pattern, which is what you would expect to see with your model, Face One. It just goes straight from one point to the other. It doesn't curve in the sky.
Again, we're going to go back to, do you know what the light is?
All right, hold on, just real quick. So, what you're saying is that at the equator, in 365 days, the sun is always on the same circle. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that. I'm only saying that not their summer, but during their equinox.
You're saying that when the sun is on the.
I'm just trying to understand what you're claiming. So if.
I think he's saying that at the equinox, if you're directly under the equator, the sun is going to rise due east and set due west. That's what he's saying. It's not going to curve.
It's not going to curve in the sky at all.
Okay, you're saying at the equinox.
No, at the equator, right? During what would be their summer, or the true summer equinox, or like during like the true equinox, right? When the day is just as long as the night.
The equinox applies.
Okay, listen. Okay, hold on, just real quick. So if I'm standing underneath the sun at the equator, so that it goes over my zenith in a straight line, straight, okay, not deviating. Now, if someone else is 2,000 miles to the north and they see a sun in a different position than I do, what's your point?
What do you mean they see it in a different position? Of course, they're going to see it like they're going to have to look at it in a different angle.
Okay, but my question is, so what's your point? We're in two different locations. What's your point?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the sun isn't circling around a fucking disc.
Right, but that's because it's going over my head, but from 2,000 miles away.
It's not going over your head. It's going over my head. I'm at the equator.
How can you prove the sun is not circling over, that flat plane? How can you prove that?
Again, I just explained it to you. By tracking the path of the sun, you can see that it makes a straight line at the equator during the equinox. Do I have to repeat myself? Are you that bad at listening?
Are you saying the sun moves? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it moves.
It makes a straight line, right?
Yeah, it makes a straight line.
No, he's saying this. Let's say you have two people. You have one person right under. You have one person on the equator. At the equinox, they're going to see the sun making the path over them. If you had another person that's at the Tropic of Cancer on the inner ring, or up north, they're going to see the sun arcing through the sky. And what he's trying to say is, why, for the person on the equator during the equinox, why is the sun making what he's calling a straight line over the sky if it's curving or if it's circling around an AE map? I think that's what you're saying, right?
It doesn't quite make a straight line, though. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
makes a straight line.
Okay, it's okay. It could be a straight line, but let's just say I'm at the North Pole, right? And I put my arms straight out, and I see the sun at the equinox, right? What's the difference?
What do you mean? What's the difference? You can map out that it's making a straight line at the equator without any curve in the sky.
That's because you're looking at it from underneath so that you don't see the undulations.
You would still see the undulations.
How do you know?
Because that's just how simple fucking geometry works.
Okay, listen. Hold on, just real quick. Okay, hold on, James. Hold on. This is exactly.
That was me.
Hold on, just real quick. This is exactly the same point that gets made up. Okay.
I already know where your line of thought is going, and you're already wrong.
Okay, great. Go ahead. Finish my thought then.
No, I don't even need to. I'm not even gonna waste my time.
Fuck you, dude. You just interrupted me.
It was a good conversation until you started doing this shit, bro. Why are you doing that?
Okay.
He's a globalist, atheist globalist. They're meant to disrupt. Their whole thing is to
He's a
disrupt.
loser.
We're challenging your idea that the sun, that's not how the sun should appear over a flat
Yeah,
Earth.
so why would
and you're not giving us an answer. You're going.
Yeah, so I'm saying
defensive.
if the sun is circling around a flat disk, you would expect to see some level of curvature to its path, but you do not see any curvature to its path. What you would also find is that the sun. What you would also expect to see.
You're fucking dumb, dude.
Say the same thing over again.
Yes, because you obviously don't understand it.
You're not giving anything to back it up. You're just saying this is how it would be.
All right, so we'll explain this, right? So you have like your three little fucking.
No, fuck you, dude. I was just going into an explanation. You interrupted me and said, "I know where you're gonna go." So then I said, "Fine, finish your thought." And then you said, "I don't have to finish your thought."
Fuck you.
Like a big fat fucking bully on the playground calling me out, and I stand up.
Cry?
Yeah, well, I don't have to fight you right now, bro.
Give the globalists a taste of their own medicine.
There's no merit on this playground.
Yeah. So again, so what you would expect to see if it's truly going through these different paths on the Tropic of Cancer, you would expect to see it to go a really slow sun up
how
north,
do you know what
moderate speed?
How do you know?
Because I know simple math, right? And
No,
I
you
know
don't.
that. I know that. I know that. Yeah. So I know.
No, he
Yeah.
doesn't.
So I know.
Let's
Let's do some math, right? Let's
Equations.
No, you don't know.
Yes, let's do some
Equations
equations,
make
right?
sense.
You have
Equations make
three
sense.
rings.
Here we
You
go.
have you have three. You have three.
Equations
You
make
have
sense.
you have three. You have
Come on. How smart you are on paper. Tell us how smart you are on paper, man.
When you
orbit. Just
when
spread it out.
All right, let's hear his reason here. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have like your Tropic of Cancer. You have it when it orbits spins around the equator, right? And I forget the other tropic. What was the other one called again? Capricorn, right?
Idiot.
So again, so you have your Tropic of Cancer. That's the north one, right? Or am I wrong?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
He doesn't even know the tilt.
Yeah,
Do
okay,
you know
so-
why they're called that? Do you know why they're called that? It's because the sun is in the constellation of Cancer during the
Okay,
Tropic of Cancer.
okay, cool. So all right, so answer me this, right? How long does it take for the sun to make a complete orbit?
It does that whole cycle in 1 year. It makes
not an orbit. I say, how long does it take?
Orbits in
How
one
long?
day.
How long does it take from the sun to make a complete circle around this fucking pizza?
1 day. Go.
1 day. So 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
So
well, there's
I'm
something
guessing.
roughly, yeah. There's the equation of time, so it fluctuates, but yeah, 24 hours.
So I'm guessing that the Tropic of Capricorn, due to it being closer to the edge, is a bigger circle, right?
Correct.
Right. So if we know that the sun is traveling or takes the same amount of time to complete each lap, but the laps are differing in width, or they're differing in circumference, meaning that the sun would have to speed up the closer to the edge it gets in order to complete that in the same amount of time. Right. So
Yes,
why
sir.
don't we, why is that what is that objectively false then? Why
Which
is it
is
objectively false. Objectively,
May I
huh?
answer this? It's not. It's not.
It is 100% false.
It's not. I'll tell you.
Where's your
how
evidence?
You can tell.
How
Yes.
is it proven that's false?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of globers that took the path of the sun during the
That's not true.
Yeah,
That's Jeremy
we-
thing, right, Random? That's Jeremy
No,
thing, right?
He's
Nobody has done it.
Yeah, so
Shut the
during
fuck up, you don't know
during the
shit.
summer solstice in the south and the southern hemisphere. Yeah, so hey, can you shut your mouth for a second? So
Dude, I've actually done the math.
What happens up in the sky?
Yeah, so here's a great experiment that we can. Here's a great experiment that we can replicate.
I already have the math for you.
Here's a great
Come on,
experiment
guys.
that we can
Let's just hear it.
replicate.
Let me tell you how you can tell.
Here's a great experiment that we
It's
can
actually
replicate.
0.03.
It's already been
Hey,
done.
dog.
Increase.
May I speak, dog?
Aaron, hold on. Guys, hold on.
It has
Are
already
you
been done.
Are you done?
No, I'm not. No.
Hurry up.
Not even close. Thank you. So, like I was saying, right? We can have the length of the day taken from when it takes the sun one point to reach the other end of the sun in the sky at the same point of latitude, but in the north, right? But again, we have to do it during the North's summer solstice, right?
Yeah. Have
So
you done it?
take. Yeah. So again, yeah. So
How about
people
this
have already
solar point?
people have already done it, and the day length is short up in the Tropic of Cancer, longer in the equator, and then shorter again in the Tropic of Capricorn.
Let me answer this, please, guys.
Meaning.
This guy.
Oh no, the sun moves slow and then it speeds up and then it slows down
Where
again.
is
Right? So it doesn't
where
make
is
sense on
this,
the
where are these
PK.
results at?
Yeah, I'll go back in and find them.
Okay.
Let me say this, Random. Let me answer this, please, guys.
First of all, this guy has no
All
idea
right,
what
go ahead,
solstice
Silent
means.
Zero. Go ahead.
Aaron, give it Silent Zero.
I just wanted to answer if it's in the disk and the sun speeds up on the outer circle. You're gonna see in the inner circle. You're gonna see days with shorter daylight, and that's what we observe.
You would observe that on the round model too.
Well, but I'm giving you the explanation that you asked for on the flat.
No, so what you would expect to see is shorter days. What you would expect to see is shorter days in the southern hemisphere because the sun is passing over your point faster.
If you agree that this could also happen on a flat Earth model, then why?
No, so
hold on. Why are you bringing this up? If it could work on both,
because I'm bringing
what the sun is and how
I'm bringing up the other half of that. What we would expect to see in the southern hemisphere or further away from the center is shorter days even during their summer because the sun is having to go faster. We don't see that. The days get longer.
But actually, that's not quite accurate. When Robotham say they said the long.
All right, guys, it's getting on 9 o'clock already. James Richard, $2. Is this why I got muted? Is what why? Oh, for this conversation? Ah. Good point. Anyway, thank you, James. Appreciate that. Everybody have a good night. Whatever evidence he provides, I'll let you know if it's anything substantial tomorrow regarding this subsolar point. I haven't seen it yet. I hear a lot of talking. And we'll see you tomorrow. And who knows what we'll be talking about. Probably not evolution again, though. That was a very strange start we had, but people seem to enjoy it, so it's all good. James Richard, $10. Shout out to Brandon. Enough said. Thank you, James. Appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. And yeah, just come back in chat, James, so I can unmute you, so you're not muted anymore. But thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.